Hello, and welcome back to the ARK of E podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard brothers. Back with you to do a little catching up. Some much needed catching up. We've been rocking out the 2x2 retro reviews. That's about all we've been able to do on a consistent basis. But if you did listen to the last one, thank you very much. That was Color of Night and Mulholland Drive.
Yes.
And it was a good one. I'm in the midst of listening back to it myself.
Oh.
Hope everybody enjoyed it. That was the end of our erotic thrillers run. So, end of this episode, we will announce the polls are closing
soon.
So nobody can hear this in real time, but we do have a poll up on Facebook currently. And we'll check in with it at the end of this episode. Got to remember to do that.
Indeed.
And we'll announce the 2x2 for September. And then you and I are going to bank that rather quickly.
Yes.
Because I've got a lot of stuff going on end of this month and the beginning of next.
Yes.
And we have got to start prepping ARKTOBER 2021. And we're going to get in the mood this week because we're going to talk about two recent horror releases as well as the mountain of what we've been watching in the interim. So I figured we open with the new stuff. We hit those two up front.
What if we do like a little more in depth on one of them?
Oh, for sure, because I don't have much to say about the other one of the two that we just talked about.
Whichever one we have the least amount on, which I think we're in agreement here, we do up front, a little bit more in depth, and then we can string along maybe it's like some TV, new stuff. We'll do the new stuff, or maybe we do like the rewatches, and then we gear into more new stuff, and then we bookend it with the one we want to talk about a little bit more in depth.
Okay.
You know? Just kind of switch it up. A little horror at the front, horror at the back. Get a little taste of the spooky season.
ARKTOBER sandwich? Pre-ARKTOBER sandwich?
Yeah.
All right.
Served a la carte.
I could have called it that, but I already did the artwork because I was trying to get ahead on this one.
That's okay.
I've got to do some bending not breaking editing.
Oh.
For the Gifts of Imperfection edition. I don't know if people are listening to that. That's the fantastic Mr. Ben Pruitt solo, but he's had a lot of guests recently. He's going through Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection through the lens of Avatar while they're prepping their fifth season, which will be season 2 of The Legend of Korra. It is coming if you're patiently waiting for it. But Ben's over there doing cool stuff. I've been editing those episodes for him. So I got to do that tonight after we finish recording, get him up, and then we'll probably follow shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll leave the polls up long enough for people to at least hear this and go look. They probably already know what it is right now.
So you don't want to announce at the end of this episode?
No, we can announce, but that way anybody who, when they hear it, they're like, oh, and then they go and find it.
I got you.
And then we've got time.
Okay.
So.
All right. So you said you wanted to start with the one we don't have much to say about up front?
Right.
Okay, we both watched Malignant.
Yes.
The latest HBO Max Warner Brothers release. We kind of made a habit of covering... I think we've covered in some capacity almost all of them. We definitely skipped In the Heights.
Yes.
Which I think a lot of people did.
Right.
Still have not gotten to it. Heard it was great. It's 2.5 hours long, and it's a musical, and musicals are normally not my bag, even though I am going to tell you about one that I absolutely adored this year when we get to that section of the show.
Okay.
But anyways, Malignant. It's the latest from James Wan.
Yes. The
maestro behind the original Saw, the original Conjuring. The first two, actually?
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
And a Fast and Furious theme.
Fast 7, one of the better ones.
Yeah.
And we talked about the Fast franchise recently. One of our more popular episodes. Shocker. People like hearing those movies discussed.
Yeah.
No matter who's talking about
it. It doesn't matter at all. They're universal, Noah.
Huge recommend to you. I'm sure I told you about this at some point, but the current season of Newcomers, which is normally Nicole Byer and Lauren Lapkus. Lauren Lapkus just had a baby, so this season is the Fast franchise, but it's Nicole Byer and John Gabris, who again is like, he's like your brother from another mother. He's 100% like the podcaster you want to be.
Okay.
Trust me. You just need to listen to a little bit of Gabris. You would absolutely love him.
Okay. I'll do that.
Yeah, he's like who you've modeled yourself off of, but you don't even know it. I feel like you're gonna, or maybe you're gonna take it as a huge insult that I hyped him up this way.
Well, I mean, when did he start podcasting?
a while ago.
Okay.
Quite a while ago.
So if I've never heard him, but I made a style.
I mean, he literally has like 4 or 5 different podcasts. So again, I'm shocked you haven't just randomly stumbled across him.
I'll probably hear the voice and be like, I know that guy.
He guests on stuff constantly.
Oh, I'm sure I probably heard him before.
His main show, like his thing, is called High and Mighty. Literally, the logo looks like a synthwave album cover of a guy, a rather large guy with a beard and a headband and shades on, and it's just, I mean,
Okay.
it's totally your vibe.
Okay.
You should check him out.
Maybe I'll hit him up and be like, my brother said you're my vibe, bro. You wanna? Can we?
Dude, he would love that language too, because that's how he talks.
Okay.
Ironically, but sometimes not ironically.
Yeah. Keep
You
him
need to
guessing.
check out Newcomers.
Okay.
Check it out on the way home.
Will do.
Give it a shot.
Okay.
Anyways, Malignant. I'm avoiding talking about it because I really don't have that much to say. Other
Do you know
than,
why I know him?
What's that?
Because for a movie called Malignant, it was pretty benign. I've been waiting all day. I've been saving that one all day.
Veronica and I went to a nice lunch the other night. Late lunch, early dinner.
That's what they call
At a place
supper.
called Neon Tiger, which I have to take you to at some point.
Okay.
I think I've told you about it.
Where's it at?
It's on King Street, but like not part of the bullshit.
Okay.
It's like, you know where the alley is?
Yeah.
You know how that kind of used to be the end of like, oh, this is the cool end of
Right.
King Street away from everything?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a little bit further down from that, there's a new plaza that's just been built in the last like 2 years. And it's got a couple different restaurants in it, but Neon Tiger, awesome place. Killer pizza. I know you like a good pizza.
What?
Check this out. You go in, it's like you walked in to like, you know, tech noir or something, dude. It's all neon on the inside. It looks like a fucking nightclub. There's like vaporwave kind of artwork like on the walls.
What time
and
do they close?
They stay open till like 2 a.m. I think.
Oh, I'm going when I leave here.
They might still be open tonight.
We'll see.
I don't know how open
On a
how
Monday?
late they stay open on the weeknights, but
Okay.
and all they play is synthwave,
Bro.
like
Okay.
the whole time.
Okay. Done. Next time
And
I'm
they
in
have a
town.
crazy cocktail menu,
Okay.
great beers, etc.
Next time I'm in town overnight.
Some of the best food I've
we
had
have to
recently.
do that.
Anyways, we went out for, this is really long-winded. On that drive, now I forget where I was going with all of this.
You and Veronica were out.
Yes, but it transitions off of what you just said, and now I lost the thread. And this is important. What
But
were you just
Malignant
talking
being benign? That's the last thing I said. For a movie being named Malignant, it's a pretty benign film.
I got it. I got
Okay.
it back. On the drive there, we're in a good mood. We're getting hyped up. I've been there once before. Haven't been able to take her yet, so we were excited.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to a little Missy Elliott.
Yeah,
Gossip folks.
of course.
And the ludicrous verse comes in, and he gets to she's like, what did he say? I said, he said, I've got a headache, and it's not a tumor.
Okay.
She was like, and I was laughing at it, of course, and she was like, what is that? And I was like, it's Kindergarten Cop. I was like, have we still not watched Kindergarten Cop together? But anyways, you went with the benign joke, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
But I was going to do it's not a tumor
Yeah.
joke. But then I remembered that whole thing.
I
Great
mean,
song.
it just
Great day. Great restaurant. Gonna take you there.
is that you're just bringing all this up to not have to talk about Malignant, right?
So
I just don't.
I was super amped. I should
Yes.
say that going in because
Agreed.
I had heard from all the like promo material and everything. This was his he's moving away from the Conjuring space. It's a new a subgenre of horror that he hasn't tackled yet, and it was pitched at. This is how it was pitched initially, and some of the early artwork I was like, I'm so here for this.
Mm-hmm.
This was his take on a Giallo movie. So he was trying to do like 70s Italian horror. And I'm like, okay, that excites me. And the early stuff was just a black glove with like the golden knife at the
Award
end
thing.
of the award that
Yeah.
gets fashioned into a deadly weapon. And it's just, you're just seeing this black like leather black glove and everything, and like it's really moody and shit. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm interested. Okay, so I got really excited, and the early trailers, like the first full length trailer, I was like, okay, this is not like the vibe, but maybe in the movie, it expands into that sort of stuff. And so that was my main kind of disappointment with it overall, was that's what I thought I was getting, and I felt like it didn't deliver on that at all. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think, as with all of his movies, it does have some fantastic like camera work and some ingenuity to it. It's very creative.
Yes.
I do respect the fact that it's a pretty original horror concept. Mm-hmm. I don't know that the execution is like fully there. I do like him sometimes sticking to the thing of like horror has always been a genre of like unknowns.
Right.
And like it allows you to kind of buy into the characters more, and like people sometimes they get pigeonholed and they end up like staying in the genre or whatever, but sometimes it's a launching pad for like people moving on to other stuff. I feel like that doesn't happen as much anymore.
Right.
People starting in horror that then like graduate. Like you don't have your Jamie Lee Curtises anymore. I don't feel like that all of a sudden become giant movie stars independent of the genre. Can't think of the last like
no, I really honestly I can't.
Because how long have we been talking about like Michael Monroe from It Follows and The Guest, where we were like, oh, clearly, boom, she's going to be in everything now, and like, you know, no, not really, but it's like she should be. Like, what the hell?
I'd even go as far as like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, because she was in the third Final Destination, and like she's just now getting.
Like it took her a while for people to like realize like, no, she's one of the best of her generation. Like, give her more to do, and now she's kind of, I feel like, getting. I'm sure she's enjoying it, and people seem to like her in those roles. But I feel like she's getting like super into the action heroine thing, where I'm like, I love her as like a badass, but like she can do other stuff. So I'd like to see one of those movies where she gets to like stretch her wings a little bit more. But I do love how committed she is to doing like cool genre shit. And again, Birds of Prey was a really good movie, and she was like completely stole the show.
Oh, of course.
Out from under everybody. Okay. How did you feel about it? Overall, I was like, it had its moments, but the acting let me down a bit, and the screenplay overall, I didn't think it all fully came together, and I never found it genuinely scary. I thought it had some good atmosphere here and there, but not fully, definitely not my vibe. But I respect. I tell you this though. I feel like I was more entertained, and this is, people are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? I feel like I was more entertained and engaged, even though I did kind of check out in the back half of this movie, even when it gets like pretty wild and some of the twisty shit towards the end. Mm-hmm. But I would say I had more fun watching this than The Conjuring.
Yeah.
Definitely The Conjuring from this year, but I would say even the original Conjuring, which again I controversially do, and I think you agree with me, we're like pretty down on that movie. Like the fact that became a huge grosser and like essentially spawned like, you know, a bazillion. And I like, for instance, I think Insidious, his other one, is far superior to The Conjuring. Way better movie.
Insidious is the one with the guy, the weird, the long-haired, creepy,
the kind of like the red face demon. That's got some good shit in it. But I think we both would agree, his best movie is Death Sentence.
Yeah, of course.
It still is to this day.
Yeah.
Best thing he's ever done. Mm-hmm. Give me another one of those, James Wan.
And we're not Columbia homers here. We're not like, oh, it's just because it was in Columbia.
Right.
But it's because you felt, to me, Death Sentence, you feel the low-budget vibe, but if you didn't live in Columbia, because I didn't at the time, I wouldn't have known that was Columbia. Yeah, because it looks like every city USA, and I love the way that they use what they're allowed to do. It looks like
it's like Detroit or something, which I think it's supposed to be.
It could literally be anywhere. Yeah. The thing with this, and it's this weird thing where like I associate.
We can say spoilers up front.
Yeah.
But I feel like anybody who was going to watch this already watched it this weekend.
Right.
And it didn't. I saw some article earlier today where it was like, the numbers on this compared to the third Conjuring for HBO Max are like way down. Basically trying to be like, James Wan left The Conjuring and like, look what happened with his new project. And I'm like, well, Conjuring has that built-in fan base of people who were gonna watch
Right.
it anyways, and had a bunch of big hype behind it. And it's like, it was still a pretty big hit in the theater, even being simultaneous on HBO Max. This one clearly, like, you know, the box office is
I see.
all over the
I
place
think.
right
I
now,
think you
man.
hold
It's
it.
so weird.
You hold it for another month, and maybe you get a nice boom because it is October. Like more people may be inclined to do that.
I think this one will, presumably they'll keep it in, and I think it will have legs if it does extend into October. I'm shocked they released it this early in September.
Well,
I
they
would have said like
probably-
last week in September.
They probably know that once Halloween Kills comes out, it's over. Like, don't try and release another horror movie because that's going to take the cake.
Well, very smartly, Last Night in Soho I think is like 2 weeks later,
Right.
and it's Halloween weekend.
Is it?
Is when you get Last Night in Soho.
Is that a horror movie?
We're not quite sure yet.
Isn't
It
it based off a
definitely-
book?
No,
No.
it's original screenplay as far as I know.
By who?
Edgar Wright.
Oh, okay.
You haven't seen the trailer for it?
I saw it was up. I didn't look at it.
No, it's very maybe possibly more in the psychological thriller zone.
That's what I'm trying to get to with this.
But
Is like
with his trailer, and I don't know that he said this outright, that looks like he's playing with like 60s Italian horror, even though it's set in London and shit. Sorry to cut you off. But that looks like what I thought Malignant was supposed to be.
right.
So I'm so much more amped for it. And it's Edgar Wright, who, again, the track record has not made a mediocre movie ever. They're
Right.
all fucking great. So
Even when half of your cast makes it one of them unwatchable, they're still good movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
even when your most popular film is essentially unwatchable now. But the other ones are so fucking good.
Yeah. So, but like, I have a thing where maybe I put misguided like opinions into what I see with stuff, because anytime like I see a bunch of cops get murdered on screen, I'm like, you like Terminator. Like Terminator was your jam.
Okay.
Because that's the first one I can think of where there's just an outrageous number of cops just getting blown away inside a police station specifically.
Right.
Right. So like when that scene comes up in the movie, I'm just like, what are we doing here? What is this? This doesn't serve anything. I get now that if it's trying to be like wild, crazy Italian horror, that's fine. But there's something about the movie that is, I don't know, and maybe I'm trying to read too much into it because I'm just wired that way from being all the classes and stuff and not being able just to enjoy stuff for what it is. But I'm wondering why, it seems like you're trying to go crazy and outrageous, but like at certain points I'm like, do you know if you're trying to go crazy outrageous, or are you just going with like whatever you feel is good because you think, because there's certain parts in there I'm like, I feel like they genuinely have control of the atmosphere. They know what they're doing. They know when to hit music cues. They know when jump scares are going to get you. They know when subtle things are going to get you as opposed to the jump scares on screen. And I don't know if it's just me personally, but I've been really spoiled of late of really good ambiance, really good mise-en-scène, really good just energy from movies. Because I was having to talk with somebody today about how, like, you look at something like you mentioned, It Follows. That premise is ridiculous. And, you know, but the thing that is following them is not one specific thing, it's multiple things. And it is just simply doing what it's supposed to do. There is no hidden backstory, there's no whatever it is, and the supernatural element of it is not so wild that it's completely believable in what it is. And I didn't know from the start if this was supposed to be supernatural, if it was supposed to be something with her.
Well, and it ends up kind of being a hybrid, which I dug about it. And as much as I was like, I like that we're getting away from ghosts that go bump in the night, like poltergeisty type shit, and you're making it like a supernatural slasher essentially. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of Wes Craven-y,
Right.
sort of. I can dig it, but
I mean, I thought it was going to be like the thing itself was not part of her. It was like a physical cancer that got cut out in the opening,
Right.
which opening was crazy. I love the opening. It was all wild. It was all over the place.
Yeah.
It had that weird, like, House on Haunted Hill feeling, but also, like, some kind of crazy, like...
Good pull, actually.
Yeah.
It has
You
a
know?
very early 2000s,
Yeah.
like, revved up. Yeah.
But also the same kind of cut and play with, like a Halloween 4 opening of, like, we're going this, hospital setting, crazy shit. It's all over the place, and I can appreciate that. But then when you ultimately tell me what it is...
When they show you the thing behind the curtain and she's calling it Gabriel or whatever, and you see that one brief shot of it, and it's just like, it's clearly, okay, that's a creature of some kind.
Right.
I laughed with glee. I was so excited.
Yes.
I was like, thank God, it's something fucking weird.
Yes.
And like practical and gooey and just strange. Like, and they're not showing it to me. And Veronica's like, oh, do you think that's stupid? I was like, no, that has me so excited.
Right.
Like, so pumped. And ultimately, it does involve like some CGI, and it gets like progressively more and more over the top. Like you're saying, I also was like, yeah, go nuts, go crazy. It falls prey to what I feel like a lot. My problem with like big studio horror in general, and I feel like this is probably going to be an issue with Halloween Kills, and it well in advance of seeing it. I want to get back to a place like the 70s and a lot of 80s horror where it's like, just do it. Don't explain, like, you don't have to explain the motivations of everything and like everything has to like tie together. You can flow on mood and vibe. That's why Last Night in Soho has me so excited, because the early reviews of this are either people loved it or they fucking hated it. And the people that hated it, the complaints are that it's underwritten and the story is incoherent, which to me sounds like a David Lynch movie. And I've heard comparisons to Mulholland Drive.
Okay.
And I'm like, if he's playing around with like dream logic, which if you watch the trailer, I'm like, if he's playing around with like dream logic and identity and nostalgia, because it takes place in two different time periods, and she's like entering into the 60s in her dreams and shit. I don't know if you know the basic premise, but and then it goes nightmarish essentially, and I'm like, if that is more of the vibe of movies of that era, which just like, they didn't tell you everything. They weren't concerned with like providing a clean backstory. The voice of Gabriel in this movie, it reminded me a bit, and I kind of dug this about it, but it gave me a little bit of a Black Christmas vibe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, that's an all-timer for me. That's in my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. And I love that voice and the creepiness and the commitment to it. And I liked that, like, okay, if you're going to give this guy a voice, like, I'm digging, like, this is what a cancerous tumor would sound like, I guess. But yeah, so again, there's beats here and there that I was like, I dig this, but it just, the sum of its parts, that not really that much there.
I think if you anchored it, and maybe there's somebody in there that's a big deal, and I just don't know it because I haven't seen many things.
I don't believe so.
If you anchor it with someone I know, not the lead, but maybe like a cop or the mother or her sister, someone that I know, I can look at, like one of the women from like Glow as the sister, and then one of like a cop from somewhere else.
There was any, again, reliability and the actors aren't bad, because I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. The screenplay is like, there's material in it that's like, if you don't sell these lines the right way, they come off as like cheesy or overly expository, and just like, oh, nobody really talks like this. Like the heavy-handed exposition with the husband in the opening of just like, your babies are gonna, my babies are gonna keep dying inside you, and blah blah blah, like implying that's happened before, and then they're immediately like, you see the abusive relationship come out, and it's like, we really need to like get this across, and I'm like, why is this movie an hour and 51 minutes? Like,
right.
What? Again, the only time to me that your horror movie should extend past an hour 40 tops is if you are reaching for something greater thematically or something epic in scale, like Dr. Sleep, like The Empty Man, like Midsommar, like Hereditary. And Jaws is still like under 220, right? It's like a clean 2 hours, I think.
I thought it was just a little over.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Exorcist, like right on the dot. I'm
Right.
saying if you got more to communicate, yeah. And then we're gonna talk about a movie here at the end that I weirdly felt the reverse about. Normally, you tell me 90-minute movie, and I'm like, fuck yeah, thank you for making a tight 90-minute movie. And in the case of the movie we're gonna talk about here at the end,
you felt robbed.
I wanted so much more.
Oh,
from
too.
it.
Me too.
So much more.
Trust me.
So we'll talk about that in a minute. But anyways, Malignant, it's free on HBO Max.
Yeah.
That's always a plus.
Mm-hmm.
It will only extend into the first week of October.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, if you were on the fence about it, I do think it's worth checking out when you're in the ARKtober spirit. When you're
Right.
ready to start just crushing horror movies, good, bad, or indifferent.
But also, if you have HBO Max, do it that first week. Don't pay for it.
Right.
Like, we haven't really talked about this. We kind of mentioned it somewhat. But, like, from now on with stuff on HBO, I kind of want to do, like, pay for it, don't pay for it. Because there was some, like, Judas and the Black Messiah. When that came to, like, Prime, and it was, like, free to, like, pay money to rent it, I would have rented it again. Even though now it's back on HBO Max.
Well, you want to talk about the slate? We can do that. Because it's kind of a looking forward to, and you and I can plan a little bit, because this will all be...
Yeah.
October's a pretty crowded month.
Yeah.
For movies. Not all of which are horror related. But, yeah, let's take a look at the HBO lineup for the rest of the year and movies in general.
I mean,
This will kind of be a most anticipated of fall, but we don't have time to do a whole episode on that.
Right.
Because
we can totally do that, like, November 1st.
Okay.
What we got left for
this coming Friday, we get Cry Macho.
Yeah.
The latest Eastwood, which I'm going to watch.
Of course.
And we'll see how it is. And then in theaters, Eyes of Tammy Faye. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No.
Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield
Ooh,
as Jim and Tammy Faye Baker.
that'll be fun.
It looks great. And it's directed by Michael Showalter, if I'm not mistaken, from The State and Wet Hot American Summer fame. Same day. Dude, this is all on Friday.
Okay.
Crowded. Have you seen the trailer for Prisoners of the Ghostland?
No. Don't know what that's about.
I would show it to you here
You can show me after we
on
wrap. It's
episode, but I'm going to give you the basic premise. It's Escape from New York, essentially.
Huh.
But set post-apocalyptic. It's 48 hours instead of 24. And you got to go rescue a daughter of somebody. The person sending our hero on the mission is played by the great Bill Moseley.
What?
And the person going on the mission is Mr. Mandy himself, Nicolas Cage.
Are you shitting me?
Look at the poster for this shit.
Are
And
you
you're gonna-
fucking shitting me?
Prisoners of the Ghostland. Check it out. Click on that poster if you want to make it bigger.
Oh my god. A notorious criminal must break an evil curse in order to rescue an abducted girl who has mysteriously disappeared. Please tell me Okay, that's fine. It's not Panos Cosmatos, but it's fine. Yeah. Where's that playing?
That'll be on VOD
What?
this Friday.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we will definitely be talking about that one.
Yeah.
in the
If
future.
you're renting, you gotta let me know because I'm gonna watch the shit.
Oh,
out of
100%. Cop Shop, which seems like garbage crime that you would
I would love it, dude. I'm waiting. I've been ready for that one.
You've seen the trailer.
Yeah, we saw-
Grillo, Gerard Butler,
Yeah.
the great Toby Huss.
Yes.
Yeah, this seems right up Gavin's alley.
Perfect alley.
Do you know who directed this?
Who?
I didn't realize this until just now, and I went from like mildly excited to I definitely will watch this with you this weekend as well. Joe Carnahan.
Yeah,
Old friend Joe Carnahan.
No, because I turned to Bex in the theater. I was like, well, it's nice to see Joe's out of jail and back working again. And she was like, what?
What
And I
was
was like,
the problem with him again?
like, was it like marijuana or something?
I don't know. We should look that up. I don't think he did anything like too terrible. But
I don't think it was. Yeah, I don't think it was anything too crazy.
love that A-Team movie, and Narc remains one of the most gritty, intense, like modern crime movies I've ever seen. Modern crime cop, dirty
Yeah.
cop movies. Incredible Ray Liotta performance. We don't talk about that anymore. Remember when he just like absolutely crushed Narc and Jason Patrick? Like, also kind of did his best work post Rush and Lost Boys. Okay, I'm gonna skip through a couple. Next big HBO Max. The Many Saints of Newark, which is the Sopranos prequel, drops October 1st.
Okay.
But you said there's some you're debating at home or in the theater. I'm going to the theater for this one, 100%. I'm not watching. I will go watch it once in the theater and then be able to watch it for the rest of the month kind of thing. So that's October 1st. And then the next big HBO one is Dune, which again, I want to see in the theater. So it doesn't really matter to me that it's at home. What are you looking at?
Did I talk to you about Boss Level earlier this year with Frank Grillo? That was Joe Carnahan too.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that when I watched it either.
Okay.
That's wild.
And then November, you got King Richard. Venus and Serena. Dude, I'm very excited for that one. Will Smith looks incredible in it. What else? Oh, and then you texted me about it. Matrix Resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Because of course, again, also going to be on HBO Max, same day, December 22nd. But there's no way we don't go see this in the theater.
Oh no, you have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we can come home and watch it again.
And again.
And again. And again. For
Take it all apart.
I haven't been this jazzed by a trailer since Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
I don't know why people are having any sort of negative reaction to it.
Oh, I haven't looked at any of the discourse. I just watched the trailer like 10 times on my phone, and then I came home and I was like, babe, we got to put it on the big screen. She was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I was like, Resurrections. She's like, what are you talking about? I was just like, they made a fourth one.
Yeah. I think the main thing I read was that it was not both of them. It's just Lana Wachowski.
Right.
And that Lawrence Fishburne isn't in the movie.
Correct.
And that they talked to him, and he was like, you'll have to talk to her. I don't know why. I'm not in the movie. It is what it is. But I'm like, that's got to be some kind of misdirect. Like, he's in there somewhere.
I think there's either that or or maybe he doesn't want to publicly say, I'm old as shit. And I don't want to, like, I'm not the same man I was fucking 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do all these stunts. Go get
Have you seen Keanu? Keanu doesn't age. I age like crazy. Keanu may not show it in front of y'all, but his bones are aching when he's done at the end of the day. He just hides it really well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, in the John Wick movies, Fishburne's just like, give me a trench coat and give me a lot of guns. And I can just still do badass, but like, I'm not going to be fucking flying around on wires again, even though you know they could do it without him doing that and make it look amazing. So, no, I think there's something else at play here. I agree. It's a bit of trickery, but I'm not trying to like get into the... Immediately you're just hit with like, oh, well, what the hell's going on, man? Like, are we erasing 2 and 3? Are we picking up right after 3? Are we picking up way after? Like, because they set up the whole thing in Revolutions where it's like,
this has happened before. It'll happen again.
This goes around and around, and like, you're not the first one, etc. So I'm like, if it's like a soft reboot / remake of the first one, that's like kind of like a legacy sequel, but knowing the Wachowskis and like the way I've looked back on their work now that I've like reassessed it, if it ends up being basically a commentary on all of these like, if it's the Twin Peaks The Return of blockbuster movies, in that it is a metatextual document on itself and the nature of going back to things, and whether or not that's a good idea, and like returning to themes or reclaiming themes, because that's another thing I have seen online is everybody's like, what are they going to do about the whole red pill thing? Like, it means something different now. And I'm like, I don't think the movie necessarily has to reckon with like the bullshit that it's like that's gone on peripherally around it in the last several years. But if it does, and does it in like a fucking like interesting way where the whole movie ends up being a giant fuck you to those people, like that would also be pretty incredible. So I'm so amped on every level. Every single image in that trailer is jaw-droppingly gorgeous. It looks like the best looking movie I've seen in quite a while. I'm so pumped. And the color palette, dude, that's the thing that also hit me, is like it doesn't look like the earlier ones.
No.
It has hints of it, but like we're playing with like the full color spectrum now. Almost like it's a new Matrix that's a little bit brighter, a little more like, you know, shimmering and dreamlike, as opposed to like the more drab, realistic green toned one that they were trapped in for those first three movies. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. I'm feeling.
And regardless of the Morpheus and Fishburne of it all, Yahya Abdul-Mateen looks incredible in this.
We can talk about. We're gonna talk about him in a minute, right?
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I feel like maybe Fishburne shows up at some point, and it's all there's some timey-wimey stuff going on, or I don't know, man. I don't know.
I would be completely
like they
content.
reset.
Listen, no,
at the end.
I would be completely content if. Well, some people are like, oh, well, his character died in one of the games, so if they're using a canon, like technically Morpheus is dead, so they could just go from that. Is what it is. I'd be completely content is if the end of this movie, it's him, Neo, waking up like on the Nebuchadnezzar, and he's just like, "Did you find her again? Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. Do you want me to put you back in? Yeah, please." And it's just like he just keeps going back into the Matrix because he can be with Trinity, and that's just where he wants to live. And he lives out his fantasy of like meeting her for the first time, knowing he's the one doing all that.
Speculating,
like
dude.
that'd be perfectly fine with me.
It. Okay.
So yeah,
we're very excited. We'll obviously be covering that one in depth when we get to it. So I skipped over a bunch of movies that are coming out in October, but just focusing on the HBO slate, I think we're basically in the territory. The rest of the ones that are coming out, the big Warner Brothers releases, are all things I want to go have the theatrical experience for.
Mm-hmm.
This fall/winter has the potential to be. We talked about this inevitably happening. Like all of these things, if the release dates hold, we're just gonna get like banger after banger, dude. If these things deliver,
and you know what,
the way things are stacked up through the rest of the year,
and here's what I want to do. I want to, and this is probably not, may not be in the cards, may not be something you want to do, but I'll find somebody to do it with. I want to go back and I want to look at the slate of films that came out in 2001, because I have a theory that we've said before, and maybe not so much with 2011, but I have a theory that, like, we've talked about it, sort of like when movies come out, what they do, what they mean. I'm wondering what the first full year in a new decade does to, like, what are we looking at? What are we dealing with? What are we talking about? Obviously, this one's really informed by, like, a global pandemic. Even though some of this stuff was shot, before, possibly, a lot of things now have been shot and done during a pandemic under, like, guidelines and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm interested to look at that as opposed to movies that were made and released before of and in the wake of 9/11 in September of 2001. Like that's kind of what I'm curious to do, to see if there's any sort of common thread that maybe we were sussing out or trying to deal with back then that we still have now, or if we're still.
What you more want to look at, if we're looking at this sounds weird, but if we're looking at 2021 in relation to the pandemic, then we'd be looking at, in my head, 2002 in movies, because there were so many things that were pushed or held because of 9/11, in the same way that if you dial back to 99, there's a lot of things that were held till 2000 because of Columbine.
Yeah.
Because people panicked and were like, oh, we can't release this right now. So, yeah, I'm curious. Maybe it's 2002 you want to look at, though, because those are the things that were released in the wake of filmed post. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think we could do it.
Or just do that stretch from 9/11 through September of 2002.
Yeah, we could do that and just play that against like 2020, 2021, moving into 2022. Because I saw that they did push back Top Gun yet again.
We should explore that if and when we ever get out of the current global pandemic.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me any new things or any rewatches you have? I hear it's a big fucking list.
Sure. I can run through let's do rewatches first. It's a short list.
Okay.
Eastern Promises.
Good one.
Cronenberg, of course. Fantastic Vigo performance. Haven't watched it in a while. And that's a 2007 movie, if I'm not mistaken, which we've often talked about as one of the best years.
Has he made another one since then?
He made
the one with Pattinson, right?
He made Cosmopolis, yes.
Yeah.
And Maps of the Stars. But after Eastern Promises, you haven't seen the third in the Vigo trilogy? Dangerous Method?
No.
With him, Keira Knightley, and Michael Fassbender? All about Freud and Carl Jung?
No, I don't think I have.
Great movie. Very underseen, obviously. Yeah, nobody talks about that one. But that was the third Vigo collab. And they are actually in the midst of filming, speaking of filming during a pandemic, they are filming Crimes of the Future, which will star Vigo and a bunch of other Cronenberg regulars. And it's based on one of his early shorts from like the 70s, but he's like updated it. The premise sounds absolutely insane. I cannot wait for it. It'll be out probably next year. So look forward to that one. Rewatch Foxcatcher, because I had a weird urge to watch it, and I have it on Blu-ray. It's one of those movies I bought, and I don't really know why, because it's not like ultra rewatchable. Did you ever see Foxcatcher?
I know the story. I've never watched the movie.
Gotcha. And I didn't watch any of the docs or anything.
Does Mark Ruffalo play the brother that gets killed, or is it Tatum?
Ruffalo is the one that gets killed.
Were you watching it because you were like, I don't really want to torture myself with the Ruffalo thing from HBO, but I want to watch some good Ruffalo?
No. And he is brilliant in Foxcatcher.
That's what I've heard.
No. It was all because we rewatch Portlandia pretty regularly, and there's a sketch... I believe it's the 4th of July episode where the mayor, played by Kyle MacLachlan, is trying to get fireworks last minute. And they're like illegal in Portland. I think it's a joke. Anyways. And so he has to go to this a guy who's actually an arms dealer. And it's played by Fred Armisen because he does a bunch of characters on the show.
Right.
And when he gets there, I've always taken it, and I think the time that season was out, I was like, this is Fred Armisen basically doing... John DuPont from Foxcatcher with the he has a nose prosthetic and he's doing kind of a weird voice and everything. And I was like, oh, this is his take on it. But anyways, Fred Armisen in that episode and everything is just like, Mr. Mayor, just shit just his voice is guess want some juice, some
Jesus Christ.
And so I just been laughing about that, and we watched the sketch recently, and I told her, I was like, I swear, I was like, have you ever seen any of the images of Steve Carell from that movie Foxcatcher? Because I was like, I swear to God, that's what he's going for in this sketch, but an exaggerated, ridiculous version of it. So I brought it up. Then I go searching through my collection. I couldn't find it. It was one of those. I was in the mood to watch it, couldn't find it. Found it a few days later when I was looking for something else, and then put it in a stack. And eventually I was just like, all right, tonight's the night. I'm going to rewatch this movie. And it's one of those, as soon as I finished it, I was like, all right, yeah, definitely never going to watch that one again. Great movie, but just not a fun watch.
No.
Super heavy, very intense, but also darkly weird and in all the right ways, where it's those kind of uncomfortable laughs where you're like, this is fucking wild. I remember watching it with Colin. I saw it in theaters. I watched it once with Colin, and then I bought it on Blu-ray. But he and I watching it, when you get to the midsection where Steve Carell and Channing Tatum are doing coke in a helicopter on the way to an awards ceremony, and you're starting to see the weirder side of the John DuPont character, it just gets so fucking wild. And then you hard cut to a little further in their relationship, and it's so much weirder. And those things are the things that kept people. I saw it in a theater and people were just like, what the fuck is this movie? completely not into it, and I was just like glued to the screen. But yeah, it's not one that I will go back to anytime soon, so I kind of regret buying it in the first place. But I watched Foxcatcher.
Okay.
The guys over on Blank Check, my personal favorite movie podcast, of the many that I listen to, they're covering John Carpenter currently.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a great miniseries thus far. So I'm doing a little bit of a watch along. Not all of them, but I did rewatch Assault on Precinct 13. A classic. Shocker. I rewatched Mulholland Drive. Why would I do that?
I don't know.
I don't even know. Followed it up with Inland Empire, which you be careful or I'll make you do it one of these days. And then after that, Escape from New York. And they just did The Thing recently, but I'm saving The Thing for October as usual. So yeah, next week will be Christine. If you should listen, dude. Their Thing episode, just props, dude.
Okay.
Great shit. You would love it. They also did like 3 hours on Halloween with Alex Ross Perry, the director. It's good. It's a good show. You would like it, but you need to listen to Gabrus before anything else. You got any rewatches for me?
Okay, I rewatched 28 Weeks Later.
Word.
Raiders.
Is that on HBO Max right now?
I believe so.
Okay.
Raiders.
So you're going full into horror, like
I'm having to hold myself over.
you're tiding yourself. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Small portions, drips and drabs.
Yeah. Raiders, The Lost Ark.
Okay. Weirdly, I started but did not finish Temple of Doom.
You know,
That's why I didn't have it on my list of rewatches.
that's probably why when I came back in, it was on at a weird time. Like it was in the
watching
middle.
it on Netflix.
Huh.
Do you sometimes just click on my Netflix profile? Like you don't bother
No,
going
not
over to
yours.
Okay.
I have Bex's Netflix.
Oh, okay.
But I came in and Temple of Doom was weirdly at a weird spot on
Maybe
Prime.
you fell asleep and it.
It
Or
might have
no,
just
I
played-
was watching it on Prime.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
right.
that's why.
You're
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
because I thought that would explain it. You should have said no. I'm Netflix. You should have doubled down on Netflix and creeped me out. I'm like, well, what the hell?
No, you're right. It was on Prime.
Reno 911, the movie. Rewatched that. Just saw it was on HBO Max. I was like, I'm gonna put it on. It's always a good time.
Great stuff.
Okay, don't judge me, but I definitely watched every single Pirates of the Caribbean movie that's available on HBO or Disney Plus, because technically the fifth one with Javier Bardem I didn't see in the theater
I
or when
haven't
it came out.
seen 4 or 5.
Right.
There's only 5, right?
Right. On Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales. On Stranger Tides is not on Disney Plus from what I can see. I haven't been able to find it. It's just the more recent one. I don't know if there's a different producer or something where they can't put that in. Maybe it's not a Gore Verbinski movie. Don't know.
No, Disney Plus just does that shit.
Yeah,
with
where they
some
don't
stuff
have-
where
yeah.
they're like, hey, this isn't available for like another 300 and something days, but it's in our library technically. You can
Yeah.
save it and we'll let you know when you can watch it.
Because why wouldn't you
But
just
no.
make that a collection? That's 5 movies. That's a nice another collection they can make up. You'd
Well,
think they would.
because they probably have a deal with somebody else, or they're like, hey, screw it. They'll be watching the series and then they'll be like, oh, there's one missing. I gotta go jump over to Amazon, or I gotta go buy the Blu-ray, or I gotta go do this or that, and Disney's getting a little cut off of that.
Yeah, that's true. So I watched Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, At World's End, and then technically it's a new watch, but Dead Men Tell No Tales, Javier Bardem's the bad guy. I'll put it to anybody. This is just my personal opinion. I've said this about multiple people. There's like 5 guys right now that if they did a movie of theirs every 2 years, I'd go watch, no problem. I say that, and then I also just said, well, I didn't see the most recent one in theaters. It's also came out in 2017. I've been busy. But I've always said, if Mike Myers made an Austin Powers movie every 2 years, I go see it. Tom Cruise does make a Mission Impossible movie every 2 years, and I go see those. And if Johnny Depp wanted to just do this for the rest of his life for the next 2 years, I'd go see him. I will watch them. They're a fun time. I can get past all the other bullshit with him, and I enjoy the shit out of it. You know, it's just a weird thing. Partly, I did listen to I Don't Know About That with Jim Jeffries, and he talked about pirates, and that kind of piqued my curiosity because he had an expert on. I don't know if you ever listened to that show, but that's the whole deal. Is they have a topic, they bring the guest on. He tries to figure out who they are. When they figure out what they're talking about, they ask him a bunch of questions, see what he knows.
Oh.
They rate him about it. He's pretty fucking... Just to be able to listen to him do new comedy is fucking hilarious. It'd be like Jim Jeffries. You should check it out. So I went back and just was like, oh, pirates. Let me see. I'm going to start from the beginning. And it was just like, okay. And it was just kind of neat to see, like, okay, this first one they maybe didn't know. You could tell, like, they've been trying to get it made for a while. And then it's like, it's a fucking success. The next one is just overblown with huge special effects. And then, again, I've only seen On Stranger Tides one time. That's the fourth one with, what's his face?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Blackbeard. He's in the John Wick movies.
Oh, Ian McShane?
Yes, yeah. I've only seen that one once. I saw that in theaters, and I have it on Blu-ray. I couldn't find it to watch it, so I just skipped next to Javier Bardem, who he's a little bit better than Bill Nye, in my opinion, when it comes to villains. So you got that going for you.
I mean, all good actors you're talking about there, but
yeah,
I give the edge to Bardem. I do love Ian McShane, though, dude. Deadwood.
Yeah.
Is he Teddy Bess in Sexy Beast? I forget.
Oh, and the last rewatch I have is just a tiny little Aaron Norris movie called Sidekicks.
Okay.
Now available on Amazon Prime.
Yes, if you're a Prime user and you've never seen Sidekicks, go watch it, because I have a sneaking suspicion that's going to end up being a retro review before the end of the year is over.
Oh, 1,000%.
Ninjas November?
We've already talked Surf Ninjas on here once.
Yeah, but you know what we haven't done?
3 Ninjas.
Goddamn right, Gavin. 3 Ninjas, X Sidekicks?
Yeah. We can
Which
do that.
Which 3 Ninjas? OG?
Well,
Strike Back? Kickback?
Kickback. Knuckles Up.
Knuckles Up is the Indian reservation?
Yes. Listen, you know the story with that, right?
We don't have to.
No.
We
explain it right now. 1 and 3 were shot back to back. The second movie, Kickback, is actually the third one. They shot that third.
The Japan one.
Right. That's why the actors who play Rocky and Rocky is different. Because the third kid that was the young, he didn't come back.
So why did we just watch them in the wrong order?
No, they were released that way.
Why?
Because Kickback has a second, like a feel of a second title one. There's never really, I haven't been able to do my deep dive research on this. I got a guy working on it. I pay him about $10 every couple of months to find more stuff on it. But I can't figure out why that they didn't release Knuckles Up after 3 Ninjas. But it was 3 Ninjas. 3 Ninjas Kickback, 3 Ninjas Knuckles Up.
And then High Noon at Mega Mountain, which I've still never seen.
Never seen that. I've seen three minutes of that movie.
I checked out on Terry Hogan a long time ago.
Yeah.
Get your shit together, bro.
It's Terry Bollea. Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea are 2 different people now.
Well, I like to smush them together.
There you go.
Because who cares?
It's probably because there's a lot of thunder in paradise when you do that.
The nanny, and he always will be. Okay. That's it on my rewatches. You got any more?
No, that's all my rewatches.
That was fun, though. Ninjas November is definitely happening, though. We're already setting it in stone.
Yeah.
So we figured that one out. We'll let you know about September here in a bit. And October, I know what I want to do.
I'm sure you do.
We're going to break the rule.
Uh-oh.
We're going to break the 10-year rule.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to fucking announce it here. It's going to be the battle of the director's cuts.
Okay.
The 3-hour cut of Midsommar versus the 3-hour cut of Dr. Sleep. I haven't watched either one of them. They've been sitting on my shelf for a fucking year.
We haven't talked about any of those really that in depth, have we? We talked about Midsommar a little bit.
I did a full 2-hour episode with Mayfield, and then you and I talked about it separate of that. But neither one of us has seen the director's cut.
Yeah, let's just call
and
it for that.
neither one of us has seen the director's cut of Dr. Sleep either, I would imagine.
And we'll have our own honorable mentions for good director's cuts to check out to each other, just to, add filler, because it's not going to be like a 3-hour episode or anything, is it? I mean, come on.
I mean,
yeah, that's the joke.
I know. I was thinking it needs to be 6 hours.
Yes.
Because we need 3 hours to talk about each movie.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
It's going to be the most epic 2x2 two-part ever. But maybe we do one new and one classic, and those are our Arktober specials. We do a classic pairing, and we do a new director's cut face-off.
Yeah.
we'll talk about the classic pairing. We'll let people vote on that one.
Of course.
That's what we'll do. All right. Did you check out... Let's talk TV.
Yeah, let's talk TV.
Nobody's listening.
Yeah,
don't worry about
let's
it.
do it.
Don't even worry about it.
Who cares?
Okay. This is a monster list. Just stop me if you're curious. I finished part 1 of Masters of the Universe on Netflix.
And started.
No interest from Kevin.
Nope.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
Is Dolph Lundgren in
part
it?
2. No.
I'm not watching.
It's an animation. Are you familiar?
Did they animate him to look like Dolph Lundgren?
No.
Not
Looks
watching.
like the classic show.
Okay.
Cho Show, which I believe I mentioned to you at some point.
Long time ago.
I have finished it. It's 4 episodes. We finished it a while ago. Again, it's been a while since we recorded. It's 4 episodes on FX on Hulu. It's brilliant. Dave, season 2.
Motherfucker.
You and I haven't talked on mic about
Straight
it, right?
up fucking masterpiece.
It's brilliant. It's one of my top 3 favorite shows of the year.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I love the first season. This is a whole other level. It was one of those... It was a finale that made me reflect back on the entirety of the season, and I basically was like...
Yeah, Chuck.
I was like,
that's all you said.
Yeah,
Like, Chuck.
Yeah. I was like, this felt like this was all building here, and there are very few shows that make me cry from joy.
Yes.
Not from sadness.
Yes.
And the last, 10 minutes of that episode...
Oh, my dude.
Was just... I was bawling my eyes out with pure elation.
Yes.
And
1,000%.
the very final moment, spoiler alert for Dave season 2. If you haven't watched it, it's a brilliant show. It's so good. It's so funny. Brilliantly textured, very layered, and the kind of layers that you don't even... You can go through an episode and be like, oh, it was fun. And then you reflect on it a little bit and you're like, oh,
that was actually fucking brilliant.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, spoiler alert, skip ahead 30 seconds. The moment towards the end where you think he's about to go out for the performance and you see Gator in the dark and you assume it's him about to watch the performance, from a TV somewhere,
right.
He's in his house or whatever.
Oh, dude, the misdirect with that.
And he's crying, you see him tear up, and the reveal that he's actually below the stage and he's about to be flumped up there, and the whole crazy, insane setup, which that whole scene earlier in that episode where they run through the show he was going to do.
Yes.
That was so brilliant in and of itself.
Yes.
But the reveal that no, we scrapped all of that, wrote a new song on the spot, and it's about how this is my best friend and we're fucking boys and we're there for each other.
And we good.
And we're good. And yeah, as soon as he shot out of there and you revealed that he's part of the performance, I just was bawling.
Oh, dude, me and
lost it, dude.
That was that was one that I don't think I've told you this on mic. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. That was one where I was like, hey, I was talking to Beck. I was like, just watch two episodes of this. If you don't laugh, if it's not funny, I'm not going to ask you to go any further. And in the first sitting, we got all the way through the first season where Gata explains I have, bipolar. Mm-hmm. To the point that, because she kills TV shows like nobody else. I think I got back to my apartment and the next day she's like, okay, I'm all caught up. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And we watched no. It was right after Chuck had come out. Right. And so I was like, she's like, I'm all caught up. I'm going to start season 1 or season 2. And I was like, when you get to Chuck, let me know what you think. And she was just like, I don't fucking know what that was, but it was hilarious. I couldn't believe they actually did what they were doing. That's wild. And since then, I have changed her name in my phone to Chuck, and that is all we call. We do that shit at work. Oh, she will call me, and if I know it's her, I'm like, hey Chuck, and she's like, hey Chuck, to the point that my tellers have been like, who the fuck is Chuck? And I'm like, have you guys watched Dave? No. I was like, watch Dave and then let me know when you come back, get back to me. And they're like, huh? And I don't explain it. I don't tell them what it is. And apparently on her end of the phone, people have done the same thing. Who the hell is Chuck? And it's just weird because that's her dad's name, but it's still we've done it in front of him and he's kind of been and we're like, it's a show. Sorry, we can't turn it off. But pound for pound, dude, like one of the best shows.
Absolutely.
Did like this year. I'm struggling to come up with stuff. I think we're kind of gearing
I've
into
got
October,
some things that
but
that
I'm
top
also
it, but
as we're
it's up
gearing
there.
into it, I am getting into like the what full on seasons have I watched of stuff. I am trying to always kind of formulate an end of the year list.
Oh, I can't. I just have a list running at all times. Yeah.
Well, to the point that like
So
this
when we get
this
to
weekend,
this-
Mom was like, "I think I just need to start writing down what I watch because sometimes I forget what I see."
you
And I'm
think?
like, Mom, yeah, you do. Noah and I have lists, and we're young and we remember
you should
everything.
also record a podcast after you watch everything, and we'll make you an internet
Just
superstar.
just put some notes. A little voice note. That'd be fine.
Okay. It's wild to me looking at this list, this amount of stuff that you and I have not talked about on mic, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
You watched the North Water, right?
Oh my God, yeah. It's up there.
It's up there. I have it ranked below Dave.
Me
I
too.
agree. But you know what? Screw it. It's not the end of the year, but I'll give you a little preview. I'm curious myself where I have things sitting right now. Okay. Oh, I have Dave season 2 at the number 2 slot.
Okay.
My number 1 is the Underground Railroad. That shit's not going to change.
I started
if
it.
anything even
I started
tops,
the first 2 episodes.
If anything
I need
even
to get
comes
back to
close to topping that show, I'll be shocked. My number 3, I'll give you my top 5. My number 3, Cobra Kai season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got the North Water, which we're about to talk about right now. And you know what? I won't spoil my number 5.
Don't worry about it. You gotta
So-
save some drama for the end of the year.
The North Water.
Yeah.
AMC. It's available on AMC Plus. It's a BBC Co-Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Amazon still has this special, but for a bit you could do a 99-cent month of AMC Plus.
I think
and then
Beck's got it 'cause
if you've
she-
never subscribed to it, you do have a free trial instantly, regardless.
She did whatever she did because apparently she was coming back in to finish up Walking Dead stuff and it was over with. And I was like, oh yeah, that was only for like a month. And she's like, damn it. So she just broke
gotcha.
down and bought it for another month.
And it's pretty cheap. It's like $4, $4.99 or something like
Yeah.
that per month.
Do we still
And there's
have
good stuff
Shudder
on it.
as a part of everything?
I reactivate it every October, but no, it's not active right now.
Okay, I'm just making
I'll
sure.
turn it on. Well, AMC Plus has Shudder attached to it, right?
Because she has it in her thing. Like Shudder stuff is in there. But I was talking with Perk this weekend, and I asked him. He's like, I was thinking about Shudder, and I was like, dude, you should because like it has something like, and I don't know if it's part of Shudder, if it's Amazon Prime. But I was like, remember Joe Bob Briggs' show in the '90s? He was like, yeah. I was like, that is on either Shudder or AMC or Prime. I don't remember. I thought it was a part of Shudder.
It's through Shudder.
Yeah, I was like, but like, I would not know this unless I clicked on it. I said, I was just curious. I clicked on it and realized inside that one little clip of it, there's like 40 movies, dude. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, it's like his show from the 90s where you would like have commercial breaks on TNT, and it's just Joe Bob's last motion picture show or last drive-in show,
Last
whatever it is.
picture show, I think.
Yeah. And it's like, I was like, dude, Cannibal Holocaust is in
Or
there.
Joe Bob's Last Drive-In. Or
Yeah, something like that. I said, Silver Bullet's in there, Cannibal Holocaust, all these great horror movies. And all you got to deal with is that he's going to sit there and tell you shit you probably don't know about the movie anyway and give you a little commentary. His mailbag girl, what's her face?
Are they unedited?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's full on, like, whatever. That's the beauty of it. It's you don't have to deal with, FCC censor ratings of, like,
Right.
you can't show this and that.
And he can say whatever he wants. In
Yeah,
the
exactly.
interstitials
I watched
and
this.
stuff.
I think I told you last year. I watched
Right.
The Society. I would have never known that. I knew that was one I needed to get to because a lot of like ranker lists talked about like, hey, this one's kind of up there. We're kind of talking about it again with the other themes that are going on now with like the rich and the poor, and it's like, oh, okay, wild. So yeah, I recommend Shudder to anybody, and I hope you turn it back on. This has been
I will.
okay. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the North Water, though.
Yes, the North
which is on AMC Plus, which we
Yes.
both watched. It's a 5-part miniseries, limited series, whatever you want to call it, starring Colin Farrell, Jack O'Connell, Stephen Graham, a couple other people, and it's one of the best things I've seen all year.
Yeah.
It's set in the mid 1800s, and it's about a bunch of dudes on a whaling vessel in the Antarctic, and the evil that men do. I don't know. It's about a lot of layered themes of masculinity, different perspectives on life, the world, religion, etc. It's fucking great. What are you searching for? What are you looking at?
Is
Speak.
Antarctica? Wait, aren't they? They're in the north, like up near Norway, right? Coming up out of England, they're heading
I
north.
thought they were headed up towards the Antarctic.
But like the Antarctic is below Australia.
Okay, excuse me.
So
They're
it's
in the North Water. Okay.
Yeah, so they're like
I'm
it's
pretty
the
sure
north.
that's what I learned from the title of the show.
So it's
They're
the
in
Arctic, like up near Norway.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looked really cold.
Yeah,
It's
no.
really realistic as well. I don't want to spoil too much where the plot goes, but Jack O'Connell's fantastic in it. Colin Farrell is doing like next level shit.
I believe you said Ravel Coro times 10.
Well, I said that initially when I was selling you on the show, but with the full breadth of the performance, the only thing I can compare it to, and I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's the same level, but the only thing I can compare that character and the tone of the performance is Daniel Day-Lewis in fucking There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
Daniel Plainview and Henry Drax are like definitely
Kindred spirits,
kindred
definitely.
spirits for sure. And Colin Farrell does some of his absolute best work of his career in it, and Jack O'Connell for that matter. I thought he was phenomenal. But yeah, it's like 5 hours long. It's brilliant, great shit. Not for the faint of heart. Very like grounded and realistic,
And
heavy, dour. Like
We're selling it as that not a whole lot of wailing. Not a really
but
big.
the wailing they do show,
Dude.
I was like, how did they film this?
Right.
Like, how did they shoot this? And they shot so much of it, like, practically and on location. Like, there's not... It reads as so real. Like, there's... I mean, there's CG augmentation here and there for certain things. But, like, just a seamless production. It felt like you were watching a giant, long-form movie.
Right.
It felt like straight-up cinema. It did not feel like what you would think something like this from, like, I don't know, the BBC like 20 years ago would feel like.
Right.
You know, super modern and very, very cinematic. Okay. So we both love the North Water.
Yes.
You watched The White Lotus?
I did.
Enjoyed it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the more talked about shows of the summer on HBO. Yeah, really good. Super well written. Love pretty much anything Mike White puts his hands on. Great cast. Great to see Steve Zahn just killing it again. Jennifer Coolidge, brilliant. Everybody really top of their game. Great stuff. One thing I will say, because I feel like everybody's seen it that wants to see it, and it's had great word of mouth. It got like more and more popular as it went on throughout the season. But one thing I will say, if you have HBO Max and you were already watching that and you enjoyed The White Lotus, I would recommend that you go watch Enlightened, Mike White's previous HBO show from about 10 years ago, starring the incomparable Laura Dern. One of my favorite shows in recent memory. I loved The White Lotus, and Enlightened is way better than The White Lotus. So, only got 2 seasons. It was one of those that was canceled prematurely, but Laura Dern, Luke Wilson,
I think I know
Diane
what you're
Ladd
talking
comes
about.
in.
Yeah, I know what
It's
you're
so
talking
good. Like, yeah, what a great show. So yeah, go watch Enlightened if you enjoyed White Lotus. Highly recommend it. I'm just gonna keep going if you're not gonna stop me.
about. I mean, I'll wait till
Veronica and I watched Glow Up. That's the makeup show on Netflix. It's in its 3rd season. It's a makeup competition show. Super fun, ultra feel good. Like, not like your typical reality show where, oh, there's drama between the contestants and shit like that. Like, it's not that vibe. It's more just like you get to see crazy ass cool makeup. And they do. There's always a competition each episode, but then they have like a separate prompt that they have to do. But there's stuff where it's like they'll go work on a TV set for like The Crown or Peaky Blinders or something, and they have to like compete to get a chance to possibly work on the show, shit like that. It's very fun, very good show. But yeah, we finished that. That was good. Brand new cherry flavor. Did you even take a look at this one?
Nope.
I feel like it kind of came and went from the Netflix top 10. Short-lived up there. This is one of the strangest and wildest shows I've seen in a while. And, you know, they get accused of, like, basically making things that sound like they were generated by an algorithm. What the algorithm eventually spat out is something. This is. I feel like this is the way to sell it to you. This is Stranger Things for 80s and 90s indie cinema. Okay?
What's this about?
I'm building to it. But this may be attractive to you or not. This is a swirl of David Lynch and Cronenberg. Now, it's nowhere near as good as Twin Peaks. And it only scratches the surface of like the thematics of Cronenberg. But it is deeply in love with those as its guidepost in the same way that Stranger Things is. It's Spielberg, it's Carpenter, it's, maybe Toby Hooper, whatever you want to throw in there. It's definitely Stuart Gordon with season 3 of Stranger Things. A lot more visceral stuff. But so, brand new cherry flavor. Rosa Salazar, who you may remember from Alita Battle Angel. Okay, she was Alita. And she was in a great show on Amazon called Undone from 2 years ago. I don't know if you watched it. Also very good. She plays a character named Lisa Nova. She's an aspiring director in sun-drenched but seamy world of 1990s Los Angeles. Okay? And she embarks on a mind-altering journey of supernatural revenge that gets nightmarishly out of control. Basically, she comes to town after filming a short that gets her a lot of attention. And she gets commissioned to basically take her short and make it into a feature. She subsequently gets fucked over by a producer who tries to like steal her film out from under her. Her film. Excuse me. And so, to get her revenge, she seeks the counsel and the assistance of essentially a witch, played by Catherine Keener, who puts a curse on this producer. But you should check it out. Dude, there's some Greg Araki in there as well.
Really?
It's very early 90s, like, indie cinema, but with, again, a heavy bent towards Lynch and Cronenberg. But it is very much its own thing, too. Again, just scratching the surface of those two itches, if you will, is enough for me to, like, we loved it, we finished it. It takes some wild twists and turns. Maybe it doesn't all hang together, but it's just vibes, man. And I appreciate how bold and fucking weird it is. It is one of the strangest shows that's been on Netflix. Definitely stands out for sheer originality. I highly recommend it to people. And if you're looking for something that's horror tinged, even though it's not outright horror, this is a great play for October, honestly.
Okay.
There are creepy vibes in it. There are things with like images that will fuck you up, sort of thing. But it's a lot of fun. Again, weird as hell. But if you're down for stuff like it, and you'll know by the end of the first episode whether you want to watch more or not. But
well, that's what you said about Invincible, so I'll
highly
go with
recommend. And it's yeah, I'll say it again because it is a very oddly named show, and I feel like a lot of people will be like, what the hell is that? And just completely move past it. But yeah, that's brand new cherry flavor on Netflix. Huge recommend from me and Veronica.
Okay.
Just for the record. Pen 15, one of our favorite shows, came back with an animated special that they made during lockdown. It's called Jacuzzi. It's a straight up 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite things of the year. It's not a full season. It's a single episode, but it's brilliant. Love Pen 15. Glad to have a little bit of it back. Are you watching Reservation Dogs?
Yes, except for the one that came out today. I haven't watched it yet. New on Mondays.
Oh, yeah. I guess I haven't watched either.
Okay.
So the last one you saw was where they go hunting?
Hey.
Oh, that's the last one you saw.
Yeah, that's the most recent one.
No.
Yeah, they do go hunting. You're right. She takes the dad out. They go hunting, and like
They see the forest creature that may or may not be her brother.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. That's the last one I watched.
Okay. Same here.
I was just talking to Mom about the Redbone episode to try to get her to watch it.
Fantastic as well. Yeah, Zane McLaren.
Everyone is the mate. Like, that show is perfect.
Dude, so the first episode I was like, okay, it's weird, interesting, different. I'm digging it or whatever. And it's one of those that just kind of snuck up on me, and then all of a sudden I'm like 4 or 5 episodes into it, I'm like, I fucking love all these characters. I love the vibe of all of this.
Right.
And that has just compounded with every subsequent episode. Perfect balance of like heart and humor, and there's just so many tiny little moments, dude, where I'm just like, it's just unlike any other show on TV right now. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And it has these touchstones of like things we're familiar with, but it is 100% its own vibe and wavelength. And I love like how unique it is. It's one of my favorite things on right now.
Yeah.
I think we got 2 more left for the season. I think it's only 8 episodes, but we'll definitely be talking about it again at the end of the year.
Definitely.
One of the strongest things I've seen. FX just killing it, dude.
Yeah.
I haven't even started Why the Last Man, which just dropped 3 episodes to kick
and I
things
love
off.
that, like, we've been talking about that for like 10 years. That was supposed to be
and
a
it's
show.
finally out, and it's just here, and there's 3 of them available right now. Might check that out after you leave if I have time. What If?
Yeah.
I think I'm up to date.
What If Zombies?
I think that was the last one.
Yeah, that is the last one.
For me, so far, it's been very up and down. I wasn't crazy about the opener. I loved the second one, obviously.
I cried like a bitch.
Oh, me too, dude.
And the Zombies one too. I was just like, God damn, just hearing his voice again, man.
But that second episode as being like the major tribute to him and everything, when Rooker has the moment of like, yeah, it doesn't matter like what time or place or wherever you ended up, like you were always going to be you. You're always going to be like this beacon of goodness and like hope and like doing the right thing. I just literally, absolutely broke down. That one fucked me up in a good way.
And what was like
high bar to the point where I'm like, I see why they didn't open with it,
right?
Because every other episode would have felt like, what the hell are we doing here? But I also was like, but damn, dude, right? Second episode, like they fucking threw it down. Like holy shit! I was like, that should have been like the season finale.
My favorite bit from that was the when they're all finally back in Wakanda, and it's like, that, my friend, sounds like genocide. Yeah, but it's efficient. Like it would work. The idea that Diamond Hansu's character fangirls out over, oh my god, you're Star-Lord.
Right.
Because it's like, that's the reaction Peter Quill wanted, and he doesn't get it. And then, of course, the thing I love about it is that Jeffrey Wright at the end is always just kind of like, this is a nice thing you're watching, but it Doom. It's just all fucking Doom. It doesn't matter.
Right.
These things you're watching, these little vignettes I'm showing you, they have nothing to do with anything else. Don't try and harp on it. Don't stay with it, because at the end of the day, it's all gonna crumble in front of you. Like ending that one with it. This, if Ego were to come back and find his son on Earth, it would probably mean destruction for all. Okay, we're good. And then, when you get to the next one with, I can't remember what the next one was. Stephen Strange losing his.
I think that was the 4th one.
The 3rd one would have been.
It was What If the Avengers All Died, essentially,
Hank Pym,
which I was like, no. The
Yeah.
Hank Pym one was the most recent episode.
No.
Hank Pym was responsible for the zombies.
Hank Pym was the reason why they all died. He was inside of the needle that killed Tony Stark. He was inside the thing that killed the Hulk. When his wife was killed as a SHIELD agent.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There are actually some weird continuity going on through these, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think for me personally, they've been up and down. I am a little disappointed with just how, like, handcuffed they are to the movies, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. How close they, like, where it's like you're altering just these tiny little elements, but like you're almost keeping huge sections of dialogue the same.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. It's some of the stuff that is like straight up recreation of moments from the film franchise is a little, I don't know. I'm a little just kind of indifferent towards where I'm like, I thought the whole point of this show was to like do wild, crazy shit with the established characters.
And I feel like that's why why the second one is really good.
Exactly.
Because
and that's
it hits
why
that
to
bar.
me the evil Doctor Strange one is very good as well.
Yes.
That's my other like good one. So, and I enjoyed the zombies one. But to me it's been a little up and down. The opening one with the flip of Peggy and Steve, like I enjoyed it, but it was so like close to
Right.
how the first adventure plays out in so many scenes where it's just like, but so what's the point of this? I don't know.
Right.
I do like the animation. I'm enjoying it, and I'm watching it every week. I just like
Yeah. I think the next one's
it's
got
definitely my
Killmonger.
least. Huh?
I think the next one has Killmonger.
I've been waiting for the Killmonger meets Tony Stark episode.
I think
That's the
that's-
other one I think has the
yeah.
potential to be very, very good. What We Do in the Shadows season 3 is back. They're 3 deep. It's as great as it ever was. And I watched the premiere last night, actually, of Scenes from a Marriage, the new HBO limited series. It's a new, it's not a remake, a new reimagining of the Bergman series from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
The TV movie, if you will. It's Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. Well, I'm going to put it this way, and granted, I'm a sucker for this type of shit. Heavy dramatics, fantastic actors, like grounded emotional relationship stuff. Like I'm usually 100% down for it. I put this on at 3 last night because I didn't have to go into work till 2 today.
Mm-hmm.
I was up working on some music late last night, but I was like, oh, but I have this laundry. I was like, should I watch the first Why the Last Man? Or should I? Yeah, do Scenes from a Marriage. I throw it on at 3 in the morning, and I am glued. I'm talking glued to the TV the entire time. No, like normally if I start anything after 3, I'm gonna fade. I'm gonna pass out on the couch, and then I'll have to wake up and then take my ass up to bed. I was absolutely enthralled, dude. Just it 100% up my alley. Not a fun watch by most people's standards, like really heavy stuff, but just the kind of acting and performances that I just absolutely go nuts for, where I'm like, okay, this feels like I shouldn't be watching this. Like,
Right.
this feels too intimate and perfect and good, and like you guys feel like you've been in an 8-year marriage or however long
Right.
it's been, etc. Incredible work by both of them, just based on the first one. There's 5 total. I think it's coming out every Sunday. Yeah, so if you're in the mood for a heavy relationship drama right now, I could not recommend it more highly. I thought the opener was pretty incredible. My last thing I will mention. So I was trying to tie myself over until Primal Season 2 comes out. Shout out to Primal. They won Best Animated Series at the Emmys the other night. I've talked about it a bunch on here. So to tie myself over, I had started watching Samurai Jack, rewatching rather.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to put that on pause because Netflix finally announced a date for the Cowboy Bebop live action series.
Oh.
Which I am very pumped for. They're making all the right moves in terms of like what they've released so far. There's still no trailer, but I believe it starts in November. So I was like, all right, got to go back through the original series. It's on Hulu right now. I own it on my PS4, like I own the collection. So in case it's never streaming somewhere, I always have it. But
You still haven't started JoJo's.
nah, dude, I had to go back to Bebop. I haven't watched Bebop in like almost 20 years, dude.
You
Like,
haven't
I
watched
watched it-
JoJo's ever.
No, I haven't. But I had to go back as a refresher, and my God, it holds up. What a fun show. Completely broke my brain when I was a kid. Where it's just like, this is just the coolest shit I've ever seen, and it's still kind of doing that as an adult. Where I'm just like, show is it's just hip as shit, dude. I don't know how else to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so cool. If the live action version captures even just a smidge of that, John Cho is playing Spike.
Okay.
I'm super, dude. Just they have one still from it. I'll show it to you, but I'm pretty amped. But yeah, so I'm in the midst of a Bebop rewatch, and I've got 10 left, and I'm already upset that it's about to be over again. Yeah, I never like properly rewatched it since it was originally, like I was watching it when it was originally airing because that was right in the sweet spot of like I was graduating beyond Dragon Ball.
Right.
And I was getting more into Gundam and the adult stuff. Then I was like, what the hell is this? I remember I watched the movie, the Cowboy Bebop movie, before I had even seen any of the series, and then went back to it. But
That's the same thing I did with Initial D. I watched Stage 3
Yeah.
first, not knowing anything about it, and then I was like, let me watch everything before this, and then it all made sense.
So you got any TV?
So I got one series that technically it's only 3 episodes, but it's BBC. I watched the old school adaptation of War of the Worlds. Oh, nice. Yeah.
You already talked about this on a previous episode. So are you sure your list is up to date?
No, because I'm talking about. I had only watched one
you watched
episode.
the
I
other
finished the other 2. The one I haven't seen is the one that was cut off by.
Are you ready to write your own reimagining now?
Yeah.
After you can see where all the pitfalls were?
Mm-hmm. Okay. In my version, Corona is just stage 1. Like, instead of the red shit, it's coronavirus. And that's what actually activates. Yeah, that activates the tripods that have been here since the dawn of time. But I'm going to do a Tomorrow World War switcheroo and be like, oh, they weren't meant to be here. It was just like, oh, shit, we lost a pair. Where are they? Oh, they're on this planet. Titan, whatever. Should we go get them? Nah, it'll be fine. And then the planet makes coronavirus and makes them go crazy. So it's not like Mars attacking us. It's just like these 2 haywire machines.
Okay.
And the only other real TV, I consider it TV because I feel like if you're putting it on the Emmys, they would. It's at least 6 episodes. I watched the 3rd Cocaine Cowboys series.
Oh, the Netflix one?
Yes.
I figured you crushed it day one.
Yeah. I didn't know it was out.
No one told you?
No
Your
one told me.
Your algorithm didn't tell you?
No.
I found write them a stern letter.
Well, no, because I don't like. I was looking around. We were trying to find something to watch, and I saw. I was like, "What is this? Is this?" I was like, "Oh, this is the 3rd Cocaine Cowboys." And Bex was like, "Oh yeah, I watched it. It was really good, really wild." And she's like, "It's a series. It's not movies, and it's not a movie. It's not a doc." And I was like, "What the hell? It's 6 episodes." So I was just like, I told her, I was like, "We'll find something else because I know you've watched it, but I'm going to sit here and watch this entire thing." And she said, "It's good enough. I'll watch it again." I was like, no. I'll do it on my own. So I went back to my apartment and like I sat with it and watched the entire thing. And oh my God, like Miami's a hell of a town, though. And it just constantly amazes me the kind of shit that has happened there. And I think that it's so fucking wild. I knew he had been looking to do, everybody had been telling him, like, well, you got to do the Cubans. Like, you don't talk about the Cubans at all in the other 2, the other 2 movies. And they were a huge deal. And indeed they were. And, the way he weaves a story. And that was the one thing I felt about, like, with the first 2 documentaries was like, I could literally watch 5 hours of this.
Right.
Why don't give me everything you have in a giant just dump of footage and talking heads, and I will listen to it. That's how fascinated I am by, like, what's happened in this entire saga of the Cocaine Cowboys, so to speak.
Right.
So when you give me 6 hours and it's all nicely formatted to be like, look at this is crazy, here's where they came from, this is how they got big, this is how lavish it was, to like, and then the cookie crumbles and like, yeah, maybe or maybe not, this is a problem. Like, just little shit. Like, the idea that when they get busted, their lawyers decide, we're going to put an ad in magazines asking for help for these people because they're the prosecution's witnesses. Essentially putting your own hit list out in a publication that was in a lawyer's magazine that was circulated in prisons and amongst lawyers. You were basically telling people, these guys are going to rat on Falcone and I can't remember Maguda and Falcone, I think is the other guy's name. Willie and Sal. They're going to rat on these guys. So if you see these people and maybe you murder them, they might be appreciated if they let you. Fucking wildest shit in the world. One of them getting locked up and he's got a like do not release warrant. He gets locked up, has a ton of charges. They start to tell you about that, like, these 2 guys started in Miami knowing they were going to go to jail in a certain amount of time for a narcotics thing that happened like 2 or 3 years ago. So the entire time in this story, they have a charge that is pending over their head they're going to go to prison for at some point. They just don't know when. And they do all this wild shit to the point that one of them goes to jail getting pulled over, and like they go back a day later, he's already out. He's gone. Yeah. Wait a minute. We had a tag on him that you don't release him. He's wanted for a federal case. He's gone. And they were literally just like hiding out in different parts of Miami, or one would go to Fort Lauderdale, Or one would go to fucking Tampa and no one could find him because it was the 90s and there was no GPS.
Right.
And like no facial recognition cameras on the fucking freeways and shit. It blows my fucking mind, dude. That's the craziness about anything related to that, is the fact that this shit happened. It's documented. It could only happen in a movie, but it happened in real life.
Right.
And there are people here to tell the tale about what actually happened. That shit, I don't care what it is. You can give me all that, the craziness. And again, it just proves that like fucking Billy Corben loves Miami. He loves where he's from. And I at the end of the day, I can get behind that. You live in a crazy city like that has a crazy history.
Mm-hmm.
You be his production company, I think, is called Raconteur, and like you be that dude. You be the fucking storyteller. As far as I'm concerned, you don't want to know anything about Miami, you talk to Billy Corben. Fucking perfect.
You heard it here first. All right.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all I got for TV.
Okay. Jumping over to movies, I've got a couple docs. Did you watch Woodstock 99? Peace, love, and rage. Pretty solid doc. It's on HBO. It's going to be part of a new series that I think continues very soon. But it was the kind of the premiere one. But it's produced by the Ringer Podcast Network. And they're doing a series of music-related docs. But yeah, it just looks back at the absolute mess that was Woodstock 99 from a lot of different interesting angles. It's a pretty by-the-numbers doc in terms of like presentation, but like it's good. It's entertaining. It's a bit of a nostalgia trip and pretty dark at the same time. I saw The Green Knight in theaters. One of my favorites of the year.
I gotta see it.
Very, very good movie.
It's my fucking namesake. I gotta go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Colin.
Yeah.
Gavin.
Yeah.
I guess I don't want to say too much about it. It definitely.
You can, but I mean, I
so
know
I
the
saw
story.
it. I saw it opening night.
Yeah.
And I definitely got the impression that the crowd that I saw it with, which was rather large, more than I was expecting, that they thought they were getting into the next Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, and that this movie is not that at all.
The story is not that at all.
And yeah, that's part of the reason I was going regardless is the fact that we had to study it in two separate classes in high school, English and history. So, even with my familiarity and yours, the way that it is adapted is fascinating.
That's what I wanted to look
and the
at.
themes that he chooses to pull out of it and how he modernizes it in some ways and stays true to the core text at the same time. It's awesome, and I hope it was a modest success financially, but it didn't cost that much to make, and a huge critical success, even though audiences, I think, felt like they got burned because it's not the type of movie that they were expecting.
Right.
But all of that taken into account, hats off to David Lowery, a guy who I've had issues with in the past. I still stand by the fact that A Ghost Story is not a good movie. I think it is genuinely bad and one of the most pretentious things I've ever seen. I like a certain amount of pretension, and The Green Knight definitely has a certain amount of pretension. But I thought it was some masterful shit, dude. Like he kind of showed a way for that I hope people latch on to. I hope somebody else wants to make another movie like this that is an adult fantasy film, like that does not hold your hand, does not spell out its grand themes, is not so beholden to lore and backstory and everything, but just like operates on visual storytelling and vibes and like thematic tension. Like the script for this thing is probably like 15 pages long.
Gotta be.
You know, it's a very simple story, but it's the way it's told. So good. I cannot wait for you to see it and for us to talk more about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to.
Green Knight, huge recommend. I think it's available on VOD now. Although, if it is still playing anywhere near you, my God, please try to go see it on a big screen. Totally worth it. A movie I did not see on the big screen, and not a lot of other people did either. And I'm very sad to say, The Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was great.
Perfect, dude.
Which I really, really enjoyed.
I fucking loved it, dude.
And it's a fucking bummer that the shitty Suicide Squad made like $700 million, and this one like limped its way to like, I don't even know if it's clear 2 at this point.
Release the AR cut.
Huge
Release
disappointing
no.
like return for what everybody thought was going to be like a huge deal. James Gunn's directing it, but supposedly it did super well on HBO Max. I had a great time with it. I think it's probably just straight up the best DC movie of the bunch at this point.
Yeah.
It was such a good time.
And like in
we don't
between,
have to do a full-on review.
Well, no,
right
in
now,
between that, like shooting it, getting it done, and coming back before he goes to Marvel to finish 3. Hey, Cena, you want to do a Peacemaker show real quick? Yeah, let's do it.
And we got a Peacemaker.
So you have Peacemaker coming out like January. It's in the can. It's been ready to go. Like that's the brilliance of it. I just want to say, I love the idea that Steve Agee was walking around doing the mocap,
right?
But they had Stallone doing the voice of King Shark, because every now and then I will look at Becky and go, "See," or go. The other day I was walking somewhere, and I was taking the dog out, and she goes, "We're going, friends." I was like, "No, you can't do that to me. Stop it," because it's just fucking ridiculous. Like, just him trying to fucking the disguises, the fucking like, "No dumb friends." Like, it's just so. I fucking love it, dude. It's one of my favorite movies this year. I was amped the minute I saw it was coming out, and then.
Yeah, no, it's still available in HBO Max, right?
Yeah,
I should squeeze in another viewing before it's off of there.
Just
that climax alone, that's one of my favorite.
The opening alone, dude.
I mean, the whole
fucking movie.
And then we'll fall down the rabbit hole of talking about every single aspect of it. Let's save some of it for possibly our year-end list, because something tells me it's going to be possibly on both of ours. Yes, great time. Check it out on HBO Max while you still can. So I texted you about this one, but I don't know if you watched it or not. I rented the Safdie Brothers movie. Heaven knows what. Mm-hmm. I did text you about it. Did you watch it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. What did you think of this one?
Fucking brilliant.
Okay.
Like, do those guys know how to make a shit film?
Not that I've seen so far. So I had been actively avoiding this one.
Because you thought it was shit?
No. Because the trailer for it is super intense. Mm-hmm. Like, the trailer for it is more intense than Good Time or Uncut Gems. Good Time is where I like became aware of them, and I was aware of Heaven Knows What from the trailer for it, but it looked like Requiem for a Dream Part 2. I was like, I can't. No. I was like, I don't want to watch that. I was like, it's fantastically like well received and like has great reviews, but that looks like too much. I don't know if I want to watch that. And then in practice of actually watching it, incredibly intense movie, like all of their movies are, but like also like all of their movies are, darkly funny, like pitch black comedy, and just like some of the most realistic, like off the cuff performances you've ever seen, because most of them are non-actors and they're just fucking. I mean, like the girl in this, that is her life. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah,
like
the idea they were scouting. No, they were scouting for what will become Uncut Gems. They find her in the park and they tell her, "Why don't you like write down some of this stuff? Because it's pretty wild what you're telling us, whatever.
Right.
And then they go back to her and they're like, "Let us have what you wrote, and we're going to make a movie, and you're going to be the star of it. Is that good with you?" And the idea that in my head, I'm thinking, after watching the movie, when they told her that, maybe at this point, I don't know when this happens, maybe the only thing in her mind was, well, I could probably fucking score a lot with whatever money they're going to give me.
Yeah.
And the idea that she has, what I understand, somewhat turned it around. I don't know what she's done since. I know she kind of got a little bit of recognition for the memoir she wrote. And I don't know what she's done.
I don't know that she's done any. She may have done like 1 or 2 movies afterwards, but yeah. She's incredible in this. Like, can't take your eyes off of her.
No.
And then the way that like Caleb Landry Jones, a quote unquote professional actor, like assimilates into that, and then like they're just local buddies that have reoccurred and stuff.
Yeah.
Just so grounded, super, and like given the subject matter, again, you think it would be like a chore to watch, but it maintains this like perverse level of entertainment throughout the whole thing where you just like cannot take your eyes off of it. Great energy. Just, again, feels like the era of cinema that I miss the most, and there's so few people like tapping into that, and they still feel like they ascribe, even with Uncut Gems, which is like we got a bigger star, we got a little bit of a bigger budget. It still feels like they're these scrappy guerrilla filmmakers, like the inheritors of the Cassavetes legacy, who are just like, we're just gonna go out there and fucking do it, and it's gonna be intense, it's gonna be raw, and it's gonna be New York, like that whole fucking that vibe.
If they could like, don't leave, don't.
Well, dude, in the opening of Uncut Gems, when they open in like an African diamond mine or whatever, I was like, what's happening here?
Don't do this.
And then of course I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, this is literally like the opening of The Exorcist or something. Yeah. Like this is like Friedkin's vibe.
This is where
like,
they spent that little bit more money they got. Yeah. They spent it on this shot alone,
exactly.
and that's
like,
it.
This is the Friedkin thing of like, I'm gonna give you like a 5-minute setup for something that like I don't really need to show you this, but it's gonna set the tone and the vibe, and it's gonna ease you into this. Yeah, those guys are brilliant. Absolutely love it. So they do have one more that I think collectively you and I have not seen, which is called Daddy Longlegs, which I'll just let you know whenever I check it out.
Do.
I think that one is more of an out-and-out comedy, and I think that's their first feature. But, yeah. I'm glad you checked it out. We never texted further about it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, had we
the
gone
what I
on
believe is the second Safdie brothers movie,
right?
The one that, if I'm not mistaken, the story goes for Good Time. Robert Pattinson saw the poster, didn't see it, but saw the poster for Heaven Knows What, and said, "I gotta meet those guys. I want to work with those guys." Based off of just the image and seeing the Safdie brothers, he was like, "Who the fuck are those guys?"
Right.
But I don't think he had seen the film yet when he contacted them about, like, let's do something. And they were like, oh, fuck, the Twilight guy wants to make, like, we could get anything greenlit if we have him. Like, we can get a budget for our next thing if he says he'll work with us. Like, now we got to make something, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now I just want to go back and watch all of them. But, yeah.
Now, the only thing I wish now is that, like, in a shot, they should go back, just because this is just stupid me, they should go back and retroactively put a shot in of somebody or two brothers running away from somewhere in a background shot of Heaven Knows What. Just go back in and just splice just literally two guys running with what looks like a bundle of money. Maybe they got some paint on them or whatever, and they're just slightly out of frame, in a established.
They're all in the same universe, but that kind of, the fact that you don't see them kind of ties into, that's just New York, dude. It's like they're just like zipping into like these little stories
this is like,
within it, but you're not seeing,
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was a good night when I finally decided, like, oh, and of course after the fact I was like, oh, I would watch this again. Like this was not nearly the like, punishing chore I thought it was going to be to get through. That's what I thought I was getting from the trailer. Which go watch, that's very intense.
No, I watched the trailer before I watched it.
Gotcha. Did you watch Val? The Val Kilmer documentary, Val?
I don't know if I can do that, man.
I recommend that you do. I don't think it'll be as tough for you as you think it'll be.
Because it was either that or Heaven Knows What, and I was like, I'm going to go with Heaven Knows What now.
I mean, Val is on there forever.
Yeah, I'll catch it before the end of the year, but
yeah. No, you will enjoy it. I'm surprised. Like, I don't know if Mom has watched it yet or Dad.
I made the mistake of watching the trailer before because I didn't know that he has a trach now.
Oh yeah, dude. No, for a while now.
Yeah, which sucks.
I mean, yeah, it does.
So
I don't know if you know the catch of the movie, because I don't think they set it up in the trailer, but most of the narration you hear
is his son.
Yeah. Uncanny, dude, where it's like, oh, you do sound like your dad like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
Exactly. As soon as I saw the moment in the trailer where he's talking through it, I was like, okay, this is his kid talking. Holy shit, he sounds just like him. Yeah.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I went on. I started to go on a bit of a conspiracy kick. I don't know if I followed through. Oh, because we lost Showtime or something in the midst of this. But I watched 3 Days of the Condor on HBO Max.
Yeah.
One of those that I've been saving as a present for myself from the 70s, where I was like, I hear it's good. Sidney Pollack. It's Redford. Never been like the biggest Redford guy, but whenever I watch him in a movie, I'm like, that dude's a fucking movie star, dude. Jeremiah Johnson, Butch Cassidy, these are ones that like I came to way late, and then when I watched them, I'm like, oh, that's why he's Robert fucking Redford.
Yeah, and remember, kids, when you get to LA, get yourself a nice tan, get yourself a good haircut, and then go on the auditions.
Yes.
That's Robert Redford's straight up advice. That's how he got into movies. Yeah. He got to LA.
Helps if you're a gorgeous, gorgeous man. And you have luscious blonde locks.
And a strong chin.
3 Days of the Condor. Fucking great, dude. I don't know why I waited this long to watch it. Slight complaint. Faye Dunaway, a little underused. Everybody else, fucking top notch. Great. I almost threw it at you for a retro review. So I finished 3 Days of the Condor, and I'm like, you know what else I've never seen? Also with Redford, and it's kind of the unofficial pseudo sequel, Spy Game.
Yeah.
Tony Scott movie from the 2000s. One of the Tony Scotts I've never seen. It's on Showtime or something that we had on Prime. I'm watching it. I'm digging it. It's a little rocky, but overall I'm like, I'm digging it. I fall asleep because it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Get up the next morning, have some breakfast, go to watch it.
And ask you for money, don't it?
And the subscription had expired. I was like, how did I fuck that up? So
How do you think I felt with World of Worlds?
I have not finished Spy Game, which I was enjoying. So
was I.
If you're ever at Second and Charles or whatever, and you see a little $5 Spy Game DVD, hit your boy up, because I want to finish that movie.
If you've got your own copy of Spy Game and you want to send it to Noah, just hit him up at the ARK of E at gmail.com. He'll give you a confidential Dropbox.
Thanks, brother.
Location to send it to, and we thank you in advance.
If you know the next place it's streaming, just give me a heads up.
What if like legit somebody listens and like it's in a brown bag on your door tomorrow morning? Wouldn't that be dope?
That would be crazy, because I don't even think I'm gonna release this tomorrow. So
when I say somebody listens, I mean like the
that
NSA.
would be terrifying.
Yes,
that would be like the opening of the box or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Meaning the opening of the movie, the box, not the opening.
Yeah, button. Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
Gavin got it. That's why we record podcasts together. I was doing my slow work of actually watching some of the Criterion movies that I have in my collection that I've yet to get to. I watched an old Jack Nicholson joint from the early 70s called Drive, he said.
Oh.
It's about a college basketball star on campus during the midst of like the campus revolution phase sort of thing. And he's caught up in the heady days of the late 60s, early 70s, the Vietnam War protests, and like he's got one side of his friends who are like activists and maybe a little bit overboard, and then he's got the coach played by Bruce Dern who's like, nah, you gotta focus. Jack Nicholson directed this. He's not in it.
Right.
One of the few movies he directed. Interesting movie. Goes in some weird places. Definitely a product of its time. More of a curio than anything else. Just to be like, hey, did you ever see this? Bruce Dern's fucking great in it, because Bruce Dern's great in everything. I would say I had just as much fun watching the like little 15 to 20 minute retrospective on the movie where they interview the cast and Nicholson about it, which also incorporates clips from the movie. I was like, I feel like I got just as much out of that as I did from actually watching it. But not a bad time. Interesting little 70s new Hollywood flick. Drive, he said. I watched Reminiscence. Did you watch this one?
Yes.
What did you think? Be honest. Brutally fucking honest.
I mean, I get it.
Stalling for time?
No, I get it. Your body was in flux, and it was hard for you to put on weight and take off weight and go back and forth. And I get you got your Greatest Showman, you got all this shit out of your system. But come on back to the movies, Hugh Jackman. Let's do something. Come on. Come to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. I enjoy the premise. I love the idea that Miami is underwater because we all know that it doesn't take much that like the world, that part of Florida will be
Great.
all that. I appreciate that.
Great premise.
Great premise.
Agreed. Great aesthetic on the surface.
Yes.
I don't think they do much with it.
No.
It's more like, I played BioShock once.
Right.
Once. I didn't play the whole series. I didn't get too invested in it. But like somebody showed it to me this one time. I was like, "Oh, that looks cool."
Yeah. I don't want to go all the way underwater, but I wanna like what if it kind of came to Earth a little bit?
I kind of want to make a sci-fi noir, but I want to make like the most obvious version of a sci-fi noir. Okay. Here's my biggest thing. I feel like I rarely say this. Westworld. Okay, this is Lisa Joy, one half of the Westworld team. Mm-hmm. So it's her and the lesser Nolan. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I'm terribly sorry, but you are the lesser Nolan. Let's just fucking say it. They do Westworld together. This is a Lisa Joy solo joint. And dude, we could talk for an hour about the weird marriage dynamics, I feel like, and like director's envy they have, because did this not feel like a parody of a Christopher Nolan movie? The way it's edited, some of the shot choices,
the shoehorningness at the end, like trying to make it all fit for you.
But did it not feel like Nolan light, essentially?
Nolan Miami style.
Sure.
In the future, when it's underwater.
Right.
Yeah.
But like,
a little bit,
not well executed. The other thing
like
I was going to say, excuse me, okay.
He missed the part where he has to tell me things. He's thinking like, oh, well, my brother just tells everybody
This is all Lisa Joy. Jonathan Nolan has nothing to do with this. I was just saying she and Jonathan do Westworld together.
Right.
This is her solo.
His notes on the project are, my brother tells everybody everything, and there's this kid in South Carolina who doesn't like it when he gets told everything, so just don't tell him everything. Tell him enough, but not everything, and go from there. And she just took that point and was like, thanks for the meeting, have a great day, and she ran with it the entire time. Is that what you're getting at?
No, what I'm getting at is Westworld Season 2 and 3, which are both horrible, in my opinion.
I've heard.
If those were 2-hour movies, maybe we're getting somewhere.
Okay.
In contrast, Reminiscence here, again, great premise, good aesthetic, decent setup. If this was a 10-episode first season of something,
I gotcha.
How much would we dig this?
Yeah.
If you saw trailers for this with this vibe, and it's like, oh, dude, it kind of looks like a BioShock detective series. Like, yeah.
Get him to flesh out a little bit more backstory, a little bit more flashbacks.
Yes, because that ultimately was my biggest thing. Is like
the war. What war are we talking about here? What happened?
Yeah, you and Thandie Newton are war buddies. You have this whole history, or like this divine romance that like changes your life that you like can't get over so much to the point where you keep going back to this thing. But we never really get to see why. Like, you just have the one setup scene with them, and all of a sudden they're banging. It's like, I get it. Like, you're both super attractive, but like, do a little bit more work for me here. It just, I don't know, man. It was kind of a bore at the end of the day. There was like one decent action set piece, but also didn't think it was particularly compelling in that vein. And narration's always delicate balance, man. I know it's a trope of noir, but it's also like, if you're not going to bring the thunder with it doing it nowadays, just don't even try. And I'm not saying Hugh Jackman was bad at doing it. I'm saying it was not particularly well written.
No.
Did not do it for me. Yeah. Not that I had huge expectations for this one. It was kind of a curiosity that I even checked it out in the first place. It was literally because it was on HBO. And
that is literally the only reason.
I would have never gone to the theater for this thing. I can tell you that much.
Again, and I'll say this as the capper on it. I wouldn't rent it. So if you're gonna watch it on HBO Max.
Oh right, even based on the trailer, I would not have been like, oh yeah, I gotta see this when it's $6. In that vein, I did unfortunately get roped in by what's a pretty solid trailer for Neil Blomkamp's Demonic. But I felt about the same way I did about Reminiscence. Some cool visuals, pretty off the rails story, not in a fun, good way, and just ultimately really unsatisfying. Do not recommend. Wish I could say, oh, he's back, baby, but he can stay gone, I guess. Other first timers we can talk. Okay, I just have a few more, and then we can get into our final review, which we should probably do because we're about 2 hours deep.
You can do yours, and then I'll do the few I have. Go for it.
Oh,
what do you got?
You go ahead. Jump in here.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm just gonna blow through mine.
So
that's fine.
Oh, okay.
No, finish yours, and I'll give you mine.
So I watched this movie called Color of Night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never seen it before. Wow.
I guess we could say that was a rewatch of mine.
Sure. Okay. Finally caught up with the Tomorrow War. I had a standing dinner date with Brendan to watch this since it came out. We finally did it last week. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sitting there for the first, half hour, 45 minutes, and I'm just I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of shit-talking it. I'm just like, dude, they are setting these things up, these white spikes. I'm like, they're talking about them so much. I'm like, there's no way they're going to deliver because there's just going to be some CG bullshit that's not scary and not intimidating, and it's just going to be whatever. And when they finally show up, that first action sequence, I immediately, I was talking all this shit beforehand, and I literally stopped and I said, you know what? I revoke every previous statement. As soon as they showed up on screen, I was like, those things look fucking cool as hell. It's a really cool character design. They're really well composited into this. And while you're dealing with some tropey action cliches and the movie's maybe a little less clever than it thinks it is, and I got ahead of it at several points, it was entertaining.
Yes.
It's shit. It's a little long in the tooth. It does not need to be that long. It definitely has a moment where you're like, this is the climax, right?
Right.
This is where this movie should end. And then it keeps going for another 45 minutes.
Right.
I did tire a little bit, and I did bring this up to them. I'm like, I like that they've established what intimidating foes these are or whatever, and it's I love you gotta shoot them in the abdomen or the throat, oddly specific because they have these shell sort of bodies and everything. I did get a little tired of the kind of rudimentary gunplay where I'm like, okay, we've got this future tech. You guys could send people through this time warp portal. You have these crazy armbands that attach to people. All this shit. You couldn't come up with something beyond a submachine gun I would see in a regular Call of Duty game to fight these things. Where's the laser blasters? Where's the Gears of War buzzsaw? Where's the Starship Troopers weaponry?
Right.
I wanted to see some sort of upgrade in that vein. It got a little boring just watching them just shoot these things with machine gun bullets constantly. And I'm nobody can pull out a grenade round or anything.
Right. And I thought at some point they were oh yeah, it was either that or what we made. I thought it's something, maybe I'm misremembering or misread something where it was we could either make a new weapon in the future to try and fight them or go back in time and get people because we are desperate for bodies. It's like Stalingrad. Just put a body in front of something, and when you die, pick that weapon up and keep going. That kind of thing. And it's, I don't know. There's 3 main threads in it that I really kind of appreciated that I was like, you know what? I'm glad I watched it. Again, I wouldn't go to theaters for it, but and I don't know how much of a credit it is to him or the scene, but just thinking in everything of what time is after he comes back from that week, and it's you just did all this, but your daughter is here as a child now.
This was
the moment on the look on his face, and just him grappling with that in his mind. I don't know if I'm giving him too much credit or not, but I think he plays that scene really well. Of fuck, man, I just watched spoilers, I just watched my daughter die in the future, and I'm back here, and she's still a baby. Like,
Right.
whoa.
Okay. Well, first of all, to each his own. I personally think Pratt's pretty bad in this movie.
Yeah.
Personally. I'm not saying you can't feel differently. I kept really getting hung up on... It's been out for several weeks. Again, spoilers for the Tomorrow War.
Yeah.
I guess. I was really hung up on the fact that, like, he was so concerned about, like, but I can't let you die here. Like, the older version of his daughter and, like, I'm going to come back for you and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be, like, very intelligent on top of being, like, a military badass.
Right.
But do you not understand? If you go back and prevent all this from happening, you get to have a life with your daughter.
Right.
And you get to prevent her from having to become this version of herself that is detached from you and all of this other shit.
Mm-hmm.
You get to correct it. Why are you so concerned with preserving this other version of your daughter? Like, you can go back and fix all of this shit. I just didn't get it. And he kept bringing it up over and over again. Like, I can't watch you die and all this different shit. And I was just like, I don't...
Did they
do you
tell
get
him
how the time
But see,
thing works, bro?
Yeah, but the
Like,
thing is, I think the problem is they tell him what happens to him, and he's not supposed. You're never supposed to know that about
Right.
yourself. So,
well, and that's why when he went back, I was like, are we going to start to see him play into this thing? And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, well, he doesn't want to tell them what he knows or what he experienced, so he becomes distant, and then the marriage breaks down, and then he ends up playing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going to go down that route, and
Right.
I was also like, we don't have enough time for this shit.
Yeah.
So thankfully, they're like, no, actually, we're going to reverse engineer this. I love Sam Richardson, and I thought he was great. He was the highlight by far.
I love the other.
Everybody clap. You got to come up.
Yeah,
Everybody clap.
I love.
Everybody clap, so he's got to come up.
I do the guy that's like who's been there, and they're
We
like,
goosed them. We goosed these kids.
yeah. The guy like the guy who's been through the shit like 2 times, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, I found out I had cancer. I'd rather die here than like a slow death back home. That's probably really cliche, but I like to think that like on some level, if anybody knew like there's an extinction event on the horizon, anybody who was already marked for death would just be like, give me a gun, let me go. You know? And I love that about, like, that's just that little, the fact that he does it, the girl from the future who doesn't exist anymore, they sacrifice themselves to, like, and again, that's what I made a joke earlier about, like, it wasn't whatever. It's just like, oh, this was randomly here. It was a space, there's a whole bigger world to this that doesn't ever get explained that you could totally tap into for sequels, but it's like, these things weren't bound for Earth. So that means there is something else bigger than us out there that has these as, like, pets or whatever, and we're just going to be like, okay, it wasn't, oh, good, they weren't meant to be here. This is an accident. Let's blow this motherfucker up and leave. As opposed to like, wait a minute, is somebody out there trying to hunt us down War of the Worlds style? But, so, I appreciated that. And J.K. Simmons and the whole dad angle, that's...
Well, there was okay, that speaks to how long the movie is. I forgot that J.K. Simmons was a character in it, to the point where I was like, oh yeah, I guess they got to do something with his dad. They got to redeem that. So when he comes in at the end as a total badass, like, that all played for me.
Did you think he was going to die the entire time? Where you're like, this is it, he's going to die. I love that they circumvent that. It's like, hey, you can meet your granddaughter. It's like, huh, way to kind of try and fool me again.
Yeah, no, I like that, but I also, like, the whole time we were watching that 3rd or 4th act sequence, I was like, you guys could have just started here, and it could have just been, like, just an alien action-driven version of The Thing with a different title, and I would have been okay with that. But it was a fun time.
Yeah.
If they do a sequel, I'll watch it. I don't think they will, because I think this movie cost a lot of money, and I don't think very many people watched it on.
But I do know that it was based off of a book series.
Right. That doesn't necessarily guarantee that there's going to be a sequel.
Yeah, but I'm saying, no, I'm not saying there will be. I'm saying there is potential to.
Oh, I figured as much.
It's not like something original. It's, it's like everything from Amazon. It comes from books, which is where they started.
That's true.
Thanks, Jeff Bezos.
We don't say that on this podcast. I'll edit that part out.
Okay, good.
Let me timestamp that. Okay, yeah, 2 hours and 4 minutes. Okay, I have 2 left, and then we can talk the
Yeah.
thing we want to talk about. Unless you got any more.
Brand new ones?
What?
Brand new ones to me?
You're asking me? You're telling me.
I got plenty of brand new ones.
Oh, yeah, you're going to run through all your stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I got 2 more.
Go for it.
Over on Amazon Prime,
Mm-hmm.
you could watch The Tomorrow War, which was alright.
Yeah.
Or you could take a chance on a pretty wild, out there movie that's not going to be for everybody, but is one of my absolute favorites of the year. Gavin's looking at me like, did I watch this shit? It's called Annette.
Oh, nah.
No. Okay. Annette is the latest from Leos Carax, who did a movie called Holy Motors a couple of years ago. He's directed a bunch of other shit. He's French, he's weird, he's avant-garde. The selling point for this one, if it's a selling point at all, it's a musical, which is normally not my bag, but it's a musical written by the band Sparks, who I've recently fallen in love with in the last year. And it stars Mr. Adam Driver, one of the best actors of his generation, and Miss Lavienne Rose herself, Marion Cotillard. You also got old Simon Helberg from The Big Bang Theory rounding out the cast. And yeah, it's a sung-through musical. It's weird as shit. It's about a power couple, essentially, a comedian and an opera singer who have a child together, and the child is very unique. That's all I'll say. It's long. It's not for everybody. And it's fucking strange as hell. But I loved it. I loved every second of it. It's pure cinema, baby. Case in point, throw it on, watching it with Veronica. She does not realize it's a sung-through musical. And she stuck around for about 45 minutes. She gave it her all, but it was not her bag. And I could tell because I'm sitting there like 15 minutes in, just having my socks knocked off. Just like, dude, just the camera work, the lighting, the aesthetic, just all the mise en scène, all the choices, the metatextual stuff. It's all hitting me. I'm just like, I wish I went to the theater to see this a week ago when I could have seen it at the Terrace. But whatever, I waited.
That's entertainment.
It literally was one of those moments where I'm just like, dude, this is why I watch movies. Like, to see shit like this. And she's on her phone next to me, completely checked out, no interest whatsoever. And I was just like, that's going to be this movie. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I posted it on Instagram, and the next day, Tim and his wife Elise are like, yeah, so we started that Annette movie you gave 9 out of 10 too. Yeah, we turned it off after about 25 minutes. Just, we weren't feeling it. I was like, can't blame you. It's one of those, if somebody told me that's the worst piece of shit I ever saw in my life, I'd be like, good on you, man. God bless. But I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great.
I think the things with movies like that is it's like somewhere people are like, yeah, we get it. Like, you can do songs and like you can hear sounds and pictures at the same time. We get that they used to just be pictures with cards, but now they're pictures with sound. Great. Because I feel like a lot of people who don't like musicals, they feel like maybe people doing musicals just want to like look at, this is the highest form of the art form. We're singing and we're dancing and we're telling story and we're using like mise en scène and we're using camera work. This is actually entertainment. This is what everybody, remember when we used to make nothing but musicals and people loved them back in the day? I feel like anybody doing that now, people are just like, okay,
This
get
is
it.
also, I should say, one of the most non-traditional,
Right.
weird, like, again, it's like a metatextual study of musicals.
Right.
At the same time
Exactly,
that it
yeah.
is a musical. Yeah.
So you already have one strike against you because people are like, huh, a musical. If it's not Grease, then no one really cares.
Oh, and it's also not one with like approachable, memorable songs that people are going to like take away from the show with them. Like I would never, and I love Sparks, I would never listen to any of these songs out of the context of this movie without the visual accompaniment. But I am, because it was originally like a stage show that they wrote and performed and did themselves. I want to hear their version of it because all of the music in the movie is sung by Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard, and like they're doing their own singing. But I'm curious to hear the voices I know from Sparks in those roles essentially. So yeah, that's a net. It's on Amazon Prime. It could be like a stealth contender that ends up being an awards like contender, but I feel like it's just too weird and out there, and it's not gonna like make the jump. It's a total love or hate it sort of situation. Speaking of another one that people have had some intense mixed reactions to, and I think it's flawed, but also one of the better things I've seen this year. Paul Schrader's The Card Counter, starring Mr. Oscar Isaac, doing some of his best work. Have you seen the trailer for this bad boy?
I want to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
What's it on?
I had to go to the theater for this one.
Okay,
it's in
that's
limited release. Right?
Probably why I haven't seen it.
Yeah. You've seen the trailer though?
Oh yeah, no, it looks badass.
That's one way to describe it. It is so not what I think people think it's gonna be.
Oh, of course, it's usually how it is.
I felt like even seeing it in the context I did at our indie theater here in Charleston, opening day, small crowd, like maybe 10 people. The consensus seemed to be, from the tone in the room, that a lot of people walked in expecting a fucking gambling movie, like a gambling-centric film, or something in the vein of like an Ocean's 11 that maybe has a little bit of a darker crime tinge to it.
I was thinking like a Get Carter, like a revenge type kind of thing.
No, not at all.
Like they screwed him over on a job, so now he's got to like get his revenge type of deal.
No, this is a Paul Schrader's usual MO. You still haven't watched First Reformed, which is on Amazon.
No.
Incredible movie. I still prefer First Reformed, but this is good. But no, this is an examination of like masculinity. You're like isolated, brooding dude. It's the same character he's been writing a variation on since Taxi Driver and Raging Bull and like all of this stuff. Fucking Rolling Thunder. But it's, yeah, I don't want to spoil too much about it until you've seen it, but I will say the trailer is struggling to give you what this movie is without spoiling what this movie is. And as a result, I feel like it's a similar kind of Green Knight situation where people are going to go into this expecting like a, maybe a kind of a grittier Ocean's 11, or like you said, I don't know who's going like, oh yeah, just like Get Carter.
I don't know. Something with gambling and like it's a Stallone revenge. I don't know. Yeah. I think Get Carter was a Michael Caine film.
I will tell you that as a heads up. It is not what you think it is, but it's got a lot going on and a lot to puzzle over, and it doesn't all necessarily work. And there are some. It's a little rough around the edges, but that's also part of what I like about it. You'll know what I mean when you see it. But the one huge takeaway is, Oscar Isaac is fucking great and everything, but this immediately goes into like this is like one of the 3 or 4 best performances he's ever given. So, highly recommend if it's playing near you locally, and it will probably be on VOD very soon. So keep an eye out for The Card Counter. That is it on my new front, except for one movie that we will discuss after you tell me your new stuff.
Freaky. Did you catch that one?
Saw it in the theater. Good time. Vince Vaughn. A Freaky Friday riff from the Blumhouse crew.
Yep.
It's a good time. On HBO Max.
Yes. We
can both say that is a huge recommend for ARKtober if you are looking for a solid horror comedy that does not outstay its welcome.
That's exactly what it is.
And has some fun little gags in it.
Yeah.
And a pretty winning, great performance from Vince Vaughn, if I do say so myself.
I agree. That was the draw, and I'm glad I wanted to see it in theaters. I don't remember when exactly it was released, but I was like, I'm not going to pay for VOD. If I do, I'll wait. That's why I was waiting till October. It was like, if it still costs my VOD, I'll watch it in October for that. But then it was like, okay, it's on HBO Max, done. The Endless was a new one for me.
So we talked about this a little bit off mic. These are the
Wilbur and Bernstein's, yeah.
And see, when you do that, I have a hard Moorhead and Benson.
Benson and Moorhead.
Benson and Moorhead.
Wilburn and Bernstein, the same two. It's these the
Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead.
right.
You had seen Synchronic.
I watched
went to the theater
Resolution
first.
You told me I should watch the other two. I vaguely remember Spring. And then I went to see Synchronic in theaters, and then you were like,
This was the only one you had not seen.
Right.
Okay.
Because I text you and like, wait a minute. So do those two guys show up in Resolution? I'm having trouble remembering. Is there a scene where two dudes from a cult come into that house in Resolution? And you text me back, they're all connected. And I was like, that doesn't answer my fucking question.
I'm almost because I thought you were confusing and you were referring the two dudes from Resolution if they reoccurred in the other movies. But I understand now what you were saying is that scene, is the flip side of that scene happen? And I think so.
I think it does.
But
I'm not 100%.
I think they do essentially tie it in
Because it's just all
directly.
time loops.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, spoilers for movies that people have not really seen.
Yeah, that you should, because that when you say that and you realize it's all time loops, that like it makes the perfect jump to Synchronic, where it's like, okay, not only is it like there's points on the earth where like time loops, but if you take this drug, you will go to a different time at this exact same point, and literally any fucking place you step would be a different point in time. It's fucking. I'm probably just gonna watch all three of these again. Or four of these again in succinct order one day. I'm just gonna make Becky
And
sit.
Spring is one of those that like seems like the outlier, but does still connect.
Because I don't remember it. That's the one I'm going to be shooting for when ARKTOBER starts around. So I'll have to find that.
For Spring, for some people, is the fan favorite. I think the Endless is the best of the bunch.
It's so fucking good,
so
man.
good, dude.
It's so fucking eerie. And
Takes its time.
Yes.
Like nice slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
The whole opening stretch of them like coming back to the cult and like the rope trick, all of that stuff, dude. Just like, yeah. It's a good time.
Yeah, definitely.
And the actual ending of that movie as well is like beyond trippy.
Yeah.
In the best way possible. Yeah, so the Endless.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
The Fincher?
Yes.
Nice.
Never seen it.
Oh, you've never seen it?
Mm-mm.
Saw that bad boy in the theater opening night. I was so amped.
Yeah.
I figured you would have waited till it got a little colder, man. I always save that one for like November, December.
Yeah, it was up there, and I was like, I don't know when it's going to come back, and I know we didn't get a sequel with everybody else in it, so with the same people returning, so I was like, but it's a one-off. I understand.
It does end oddly with that context of like the fact that he didn't make a second one. I know they did make a second one,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I remember in the theater feeling like, and I had to tell everybody I was with, I was like, this is a book series, like they're gonna, because I had seen
You want to watch all three of these? They're available.
I was gonna say
now.
I had already seen all of those, the Numi Rapace ones,
Yeah.
and so I was like, yeah, guys, I was like, I know it feels weird that you just watched a 3-hour movie and it feels open ended, but like, there's more books, like
right.
they are ongoing characters,
Exactly.
and this is where the note that they wanted to leave this one on.
Come back next Christmas for the next Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that was still one of my favorite marketing campaigns ever. The feel bad movie of Christmas.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's definitely, I don't know, the people that hate on Venture, I feel like it's the easiest one to criticize because it is the most style over substance of any of his movies. But it's really fucking good. I really like it.
It's really
It's got some astounding set pieces in it. Particularly the whole basement sequence, the last like 20 minutes, kind of appropriate climax before you have the denouement afterwards. And then of course the sequence where Lisbeth like goes to get her revenge about midway through the movie is one of the coolest and also most upsetting scenes ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I watched the. I'm just gonna call it Fanforstic. I think you know what that means.
Fanforstic?
Yeah, it's where it's Fantastic Four, but the 4 is in the middle. How they marketed it as Fanforstic. The one with Michael B. Jordan and what's her face from
Kate Mara.
Yeah. And
not the one from Girl with the
no,
Dragon
no,
Tattoo.
no,
Her
no.
sister. Yeah.
And Mr. Too Old to Die Young himself.
Yeah.
And the late great their dad in it. He was in. He just passed away not like last year. He was in House of Cards as the barbecue guy. He's been in everything.
Reggie Cathy?
Yeah.
No. Is that right?
I think so. I think that's his name.
Okay.
Yeah, he like just passed away within the last year or so. I'm trying to think of what else you would know him in. He's been in pretty much.
Gotcha. What are we talking about again?
You would know him as one of the henchmen from The Mask, Noah. Fantastic Four. They came out back at it was finally put up on Disney Plus, and I was like, people talk shit about this one. Let me watch it, and
Just as bad as they say?
I actually enjoyed it.
Shocker.
It's better than the fucking ones we got from like Fox Marvel with like.
I don't know, dude. I kind of miss that era, to be honest with you.
Of course, you would say that. You would be the one that says that. Fall in line with everybody else. We got to get back to the Fox of it all. I bet you want a bunch of villains in Spider-Man 3, don't you?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we could just stop making them right now, and
Yeah.
I'd be good. I was like, I think we've gotten enough in the last decade. We can just rewatch these forever on Disney Plus. But I am excited with the next phase. I just a few less comic book movies and a few more original movies would be kind of cool.
Well, my whole thing is that my hope is that the Immortals comes out and people really enjoy it, and you have
Eternals,
Immortals. They're the same thing. Doesn't matter.
case in point, right there. People are gonna be like, "What's this Eternals? I don't even fucking."
Immortals
know.
is a game. That's what I'm thinking of. There was an Immortals.
Possibly. If you want to talk about the movie we've been teasing this whole time, we have got to do it soon.
Okay. Well, then let me run through the rest of my shit. Okay.
Please do.
Okay. Maybe trim a few sentences off your reviews now and then so I can talk. Sweet Girl.
I let you do like
a minute or
15
two.
minutes on Cocaine Cowboys.
Not even that was like 5 at the most. River's Edge, Sweet Girl, and
How was old Sweet Girl?
I mean, he's nice to look at, and it's the twist is the twist. I can't.
All of the social media ads I was seeing were just like all fan reviews.
Yes.
And it's all just women being like, he's so dreamy.
Yes.
And I'm like, is this what it's come to?
It
Is this
is.
how we're just marketing all of his movies now?
And you know what? For what it is, I'm glad they did it that way because the way that what goes down is actually, I fucking love it. I love what happens to it. I love what it is because of what it's saying about itself, but it's still not that
Good.
great.
Right.
Do you want me to tell you? You gonna watch it?
I don't care, and we can move on.
Okay.
I do not care.
And then the last one was Vacation Friends.
How was that?
Fucking hilarious.
Okay.
Lil
I
Rel,
might be
John
able to-
Cena. John Cena
I might
is
be
fucking
able to
funny,
talk
dude.
Veronica. I agree. You're so defensive. Like, you fucking know the guy?
Yeah.
I agree. I think he's very funny. I think that's why he didn't work in Fast 9. But hopefully they'll let him be funny in the next one.
Hopefully.
All right. Candyman.
I'm not looking in the mirror, so it doesn't count. Candyman.
Neither am I. Candyman.
Yep.
I tell you a little something. The eyes, they're the body's mirrors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you be careful. Candyman.
Becky was a little apprehensive about going to see this in the theater, and I was like, look, I'm just going to be real with you. You don't need to be worried about this movie because it's one of the only movies that tells you what the fuck not to do,
Right.
and you'll be fine. And we got out of there, she goes, yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And I was like, yeah, just don't fucking say Candyman, right? And she was like, yeah, really,
One of my
just
favorite.
don't.
I wish I had the original tweet to give the person credit, but yeah, one of my favorites I saw going around was like,
It's proof that you just need to keep your name out.
yeah,
of my
keep
mouth.
people's name out your
Fucking
mouth and you'll
keep
be
it
fine.
Yeah,
It's like,
Mike
yeah.
Allen posted that shit on his
That was great.
Snapchat. I was like, of course, fucking Mike Allen.
So, I know you were over the moon for it.
I was, and I see that you weren't.
I still really liked it.
No, you can really like it. It's
I don't know
I'm
that
tr-
I
I'm trying to find. No, I think that you can put this up there with. I don't know how many other movies you could really put up with because there's not that much. But I hope this trend continues. That if you decide you want to remake something or reimagine something, this is a nice template. Just the way I would put Halloween 18 up with this is how you this is an example of something that's made by people who love it, who respect it, want to show it to everybody as to what it was, what the original was, but want to do their own thing and not just, well, we got to have this shot, we got to have that shot, he's got to do this, he's got to do that. The way that it informs you of what Candyman is to people, the myth, the lore, all that, its connections to the original film, and how that's all played about, and like what it's doing now. I dug all of that. Like when Becky was like, what's this and that, I'm like, that all connects to the first one. I'll tell you after the movie. Like, it's fine. There was a few people in there. It was like a Sunday. I saw this on Labor Day. So it was like a Sunday matinee thing. It wasn't that many people. While I was at the race, we went and saw it. But just genuinely, I don't know, the vibe, the energy, the way it was shot, the somewhat dark humor of it, you know, like, you know, the one little girl be like, ah, fuck this, I'm out, I'm leaving, in the bathroom. Fucking hilarious. You know? But I don't know, I really I tried to talk about this earlier when we were talking about Malignant. When it comes to like horror and like what it's supposed to be doing for me, I don't need horror movies to be commenting on things and like being a like study of something, or like what does this mean about like our current society, what we're going through. But I do feel like there is somewhat of a catharsis in a movie like this on some level for people, whether it's dealing with, you know, current issues, past issues, but folding that into that, along with like this, you know, this movie from the 90s that some people remember, some people don't. Some people probably have never seen it. Some people have, oh, that's the guy with the hook. Oh, okay, cool. You had him, and then you had the other guy with the hook, and I know what you did last summer. Whoop-de-doo. Like, on its base level, could just be this throwaway horror movie from the 90s. At its best day, it's like this kind of like...
one of the 5 best, arguably,
right,
horror masterpieces of the 90s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and it exists... To be able to exist like that and have this, I couldn't ask for more in somebody who wanted to come and do a remake sequel. So, I mean, I don't know. You got Coleman Domingo. I can't argue with him. I love that guy.
I think the cast is like uniformly excellent. Particularly Coleman Domingo, and I mainly say that because, again, we're late in the episode. Soon people have had the chance to see it. I know way more people are going to see it. So if you haven't seen it, I like the movie quite a bit as well. I've got some quibbles. I can tell you this. It's the best horror movie of the year so far. Hands down.
You know what? Some fucking body said that about Malignant. And I was like, are you shitting me? You think that this is better than Candyman? That's what I'm thinking when I'm reading this.
Right.
But I think it was somebody from like Dread Central or something, some no-name publication.
Who knows?
Yeah. Still need those 5-star reviews so we can start reviewing shit. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, haven't asked for that.
So we can start telling people this is the greatest horror movie of the year. Or, sorry, the best horror movie of the year.
But yeah, I think, and granted, it's been a little bit of a weak year for horror, but this is by far the best thing I've seen in the genre. I love how it ties itself in to how it becomes a sequel, essentially. I loved all of that stuff. I think it's incredibly well shot. The opening credits alone, which the Candyman original opening credits are astounding, with the Philip Glass score and like the way the aerial shots it has. The flip of that for this, I thought was and the whole concept of mirroring everything, like, she clearly had a vision for it. Mm-hmm. And visually, I think she 100% executes on that from start to finish. The screenplay, I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Really?
Yes.
How so?
I think this has happened with virtually every Jordan Peele project that he's produced on that he has not written and directed himself. Mm-hmm. where I think he comes in with the story idea, the basic outline,
Right.
the structure.
Spec script. Got it.
Exactly. But he's not writing the lines, the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you end up with is this movie where it's like, well, the original kind of lightly touches on some of the themes of like gentrification, but we really want to bring that to the forefront. But instead of doing it thematically or with any kind of subtlety,
we're just going to have a conversation about it.
We're just going to have a very, very direct conversation about it. And I think it doesn't give the audience enough credit for being a little more aware of like, of course, I would expect a Candyman movie made in the cold light of day of 2021 to probably focus a little bit more on that. But when you like are having a very base level conversation about it, where you're literally giving like a textbook definition of what gentrification is for like the dumb people in the audience, I guess, I'm like, those people aren't coming to this movie in the first place. Like, who are you talking to?
Right.
It felt very first drafty, very direct, where I was like, you didn't weed out the, okay, first choice, best choice, most obvious thing, and kind of like bring in the realism factor. It was just like, we want to get these issues, they begin to feel like talking points when they're not explored with any kind of depth, to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And then they set up something I thought was a really interesting thread, where you have the white female art critic saying like, you're kind, like, it's so loaded, but like, you're kind, you're responsible for this gentrification. He's like, my kind, like, what the fuck? She's like, artist,
right?
Like, all of you want cheap, spaces or wherever. You don't care where you get it. You need your lofts, etc. And I was like, that's something really interesting for this movie to investigate.
Yes.
The fact that he maybe feels a little bit like fraud, and he's investigating this story that is not his own,
no.
At least as far as he knows early on, and he's profiting off of it with his art. That's something really interesting to explore.
Right.
Movie doesn't really do that. And that's where like I was telling you earlier, I wanted the hour and 50-minute slow burn version of this, where we get to delve a little bit more into his strained relations with like the people he works with within the art world. Instead, what we get is, hey, we need to kill this dude off, so we need to just turn him into like a fucking perv and essentially an abusive boss, sexual harasser or whatever. We got to do that very efficiently, turn him into a douchebag, so you'll enjoy when he gets killed. And I'm like, I already like didn't like this guy. You don't have to. I horror movies that always tack on the like.
Oh yeah.
We gotta remind you though, this guy's a dick, so it's okay for you to watch him die.
Right.
But like the turn of him kind of like having turned his back on the art, where like people aren't accepting the work, and then all of a sudden he's kind of a murder suspect, and that's part of the like.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted more of all of that, just a little bit more depth, because what it felt like to me was a nice slow burn for about an hour and 15 minutes, that then has to sprint to the finish line. And I've kind of got whiplash from it. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Where I felt like it thematically did not deliver on some of the stuff it was exploring, so it felt very surface level. Because you just kind of like lightly touched on these things and they weren't baked into the thematics of everything, where it ended with the Coleman Domingo character, I was like, oh, that, I like that, and I like the reveal of like what's going on with Yaya.
Mm-hmm.
But because of part of where his character is headed, that's another thing that kind of bummed me out. He kind of is a non-factor for the last third of the movie. Arguably, your best actor in the cast is essentially incapacitated for the back half, as he, spoilers, slowly shifts into becoming the new Candyman. which I could have told you from all of the trailers, that's where this movie was going. That's what I was expecting the whole time, and I thought that's what we were going to get. The girlfriend angle, who we kind of shift more over to her perspective in the back half, I hate to be this guy, but I needed more of their relationship, of the build-up, of, like, kind of losing out on this as, like, a tragic element to this. Because one thing that the original has that this movie almost completely abandons, it's one of the few erotic horror movies.
Yes.
That is, it's sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's weird.
Right.
It's weirdly sexy.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a, I don't know how else to describe it. Candyman, the original, has a sexual energy to it. That is a huge, to me, component of that character. He is falling in love with Virginia Madsen because she reminds him of his great lost love, who he was killed for, essentially.
Right.
And the whole Daniel Robitaille, like, backstory, I love it. They go deeper with it in the sequels, which they're not spectacular, but, like, Tony Todd is fucking Tony Todd. That's another thing. We kept getting this guy who I'm like, but why isn't it Tony Todd? Like, what is it? And they do eventually justify it, okay? And then they give you just
enough.
Just a smidge of him. And I did love it when we finally got there. But, again, the implication for the setup of these sequels is, so now it's Yaya? Like, we're never going to see Tony Todd again? Like, so is Yaya the new Candyman? Or is he just the new visual representation? And in the case of all of this, why you couldn't at least give me the Tony Todd voice for, like, earlier parts of the movie? Because you don't get him until the very end. And I get making you wait for it. And they want to have a punch at the end. And I do like all of that. But for me, it was a little too late. I wanted a little more meat on the bones. I wanted them to give it a little bit more time. Because I loved, again, everything she was doing visually. Like, I was really vibing with it. And then I felt like it just kind of cut some corners here and there. And I don't know if some of this was affected by COVID. I thought this thing was, like, finished and done and ready to come out last year.
Maybe they tested it and they needed to reshoot.
And it did feel like maybe they played around with some stuff. I did also think that, again, in the surface level themes, the turn at the end of, like, oh, well, we're just gonna frame him for all of this and you should sign off on it, and, like, we're kind of pressuring you into it. Red is just like, guys, this is like a hat on a hat on a hat. Like, we're doing this now. Like, we're tying it into this conversation. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the movie can hold all of this weight, essentially.
Well, no, that's the thing. It can. Because that's what Candyman is. Candyman is a reminder that shit like that happens all the time. And it's still happening. Coleman Domingo has that delivery of it. Like, we need him to remind people that what happened here, what's been happening here, and what's still happening here. So you can argue that the first go round with Tony Todd, essentially, which we get, told about again, that was its own thing. And then this time in the 70s with Coleman Domingo as a kid, that's another thing. And it's all essentially this underlying thing of, like,
but Tony Todd is Daniel Robitaille. That's the OG Candyman.
Right. And so that's why the ending pays off for me. But the idea that you needed the incident with Coleman Domingo, and what happened with Helen Lyle, and then this thing now.
Dude, I'm sorry. That is the most choice, like, hey, remember this person? Like, we fucking got her back. But it's Vanessa Williams from the original Candyman. That mom who's like, she only has a few scenes. Mm-hmm. But they brought her back straight up.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm such an idiot. I'm like, I see her name in the credits and I'm like, oh, the other Vanessa Williams. I didn't know she was in this movie.
Right.
Okay. And then we get to the, like, tail end of the second act or whatever. I was like, Oh shit, dude! Because it's one of the most memorable moments in the original movie is when she comes, the fucking dog head is cut like off, and the baby's missing, and you're like, this movie took a hard
right
left turn.
Yeah,
My God.
yeah.
Yeah.
But again, no, that's what I'm saying. Like you're overall, you're saying that like from Jump Street, shit like this happens to the poor, impoverished people of color when white people are in charge, and you're only getting to the shit that happened with. Well, we kind of probably need to frame it for this. Is the same exact thing of somebody screamed and they beat the fucking shit. They beat him to death, tore him apart. All the white cops. So I think it can hold it because, again, that's why at the end it's like, tell everyone, because he's back and he's ready to be known. And again, it's so simple. You could live your entire life in Cabrini Green and never have to worry about anything. Just don't fucking say his name in a mirror. Right. How simple is that?
Well, and I love the reverse of the end of essentially now he's this folkloric hero that you could call on to save you in situations like this.
Right.
That he's the boogeyman for white people, essentially.
Yeah, he's like Luke Cage with, supernatural Luke Cage. Just call him at anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like where we end, and I like the stinger, and I'm excited for the possibility of like reviving this as a franchise. Mm-hmm. I just felt like I wanted a little bit more in the same way that like for me personally, this is not on the level of Get Out, of Us. I'm thinking of the recent like top tier horror movies in my mind of your Midsommars, your Hereditary. Mm-hmm. I think this has a lot of interesting ideas and it's a little muddled in how it executes them. I think it has a brilliant visual aesthetic, looks gorgeous, love the score, has some great vibes to it. I can't wait to watch it again, and I think I may be a little more I may be a little more go with the flow. I was from that opening conversation, I was like, this is a little on the nose, right, guys? Like, really? And then I think I kind of had my ears, like, perked up for, like, okay, well, how much are we actually exploring this, and how much do the, like, again, the visual storytelling and the thematics tie into it beyond just, like, a surface level thing? And I'm not saying it's not there. I think I do look forward to giving it another look.
I think he probably knows what he's doing when it comes to like, I'll let somebody else do this. My name will get it made.
That's what.
And so I'm good, but I'm not gonna put my neck on that.
Right.
So
I'm not
I'll let
hating on the
do
projects that he's just kind of like overseen. But again, I think that's the key there is without him as like the main guiding principle, I think some people take the surface level elements of what he quote unquote does based on 2 movies and the sketch show. But what his MO is.
And the Twilight Zone, right? Didn't he have something to do with those?
I don't think he even directed any of those. I think he directed or
I think he did one.
I think he did story by credits or something on them, and of course he hosted it, but I don't know that he directed any of those episodes. I could be wrong, and I will look that up, but I think people you feel people trying to do an imitation of what he does as opposed to just doing their own version of what he does. I don't know, but I did want to shout out one thing, which is one of the best set piece kills I've seen in a while, and it's a quick one, and it goes by in a flash. But when it happens, I was like, that's impressive. I haven't seen anything quite like that. He's over at the white art critic lady's house, or is she a journalist or something?
She's a journalist. She's a critic journalist, yeah.
Doing the interview, kind of leaves on a church note, and that's when he first like sees in the mirror and is like freaking out a bit, and you're like, oh, where's this gonna go? And he rushes out, and the pullback from the like outside
one
view
of the best shots
as I was absolutely blown away. The
watching,
timing on that was like perfection.
Yeah,
that was so good.
People
were like, that was the one moment in theaters that got people where they were like, whoa,
yeah, that shit, pulling back like that, because I was like doing whatever, thinking, it's not. I mean, we're sitting away from people, and I was saying something to her that like hit my mind, and she goes, "Look," and I just happened to look back up. It's like he got her. I was like, "What?" And as it's pulling, I was like,
It is
"Oh
a blink
shit!"
and you miss it thing,
like,
dude.
yeah, if you
It's
don't,
so,
yeah,
oh god, so
yeah.
well done.
I was like, "Oh, good, yeah," because I would have.
I think she kind of drops the sound out too, if I'm remembering
Right, because
correctly,
you're pulling
as she
back and you
pulls
just
away
see
from
all
it.
these different stories, all these different mirrors, and it's like you're either looking at that as like these are all these other stories going on that like you will never know about, or all they gotta do is look in that mirror and call his name, and boom, he's there.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of it, because it's like it's such an investment and such a thing for like, nah, this guy's going through this shit, the art, he got a bee sting, all this stuff. What does it mean? Is he coming to grips? Does he know who he is? Blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the day, it's like, this literally could happen to no one else. Or they could like turn it, if he doesn't become Candyman at the end, regardless, it's going to be, oh, that crazy artist guy? Yeah, he's the one who actually went to that high school and murdered all those girls. It was actually him. It wasn't just,
Right.
Whatever. I only thing I hated was by the time we got to that high school scene, I was like, why do I know this little girl again? Forgetting that she was the art critic's, like, helper.
Right. You saw her
like,
in the
what?
one.
That's the only
previous
scene that kind of felt out of touch. So I was just like, why do I need this in here? I get what he is.
I think it's because the movie that's one of those where I'm like, that feels like a studio note. Like, hey,
Yeah.
can you put one more kill in there?
One
like,
crazy kill, like something
yeah.
ridiculous.
And I did like the way that one was shot though, because you didn't really like see. You just
No,
kind
you
of like
just see the
saw
aftermath.
blood just like leak out from like
Different, yeah.
from the perspective and everything. Yeah.
And of course, the little girl that runs away in the beginning is fucking, yep, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a moment with the girlfriend as well when she's investigating the laundromat where she sees that she sees like, oh, there's a basement down there. No, not
Yep,
doing
that
that.
was yeah,
Closes it,
that was
turns around.
yeah,
and,
I loved it. That
and
got
then
it.
he, of course, Coleman Domingo like shows up, boom, right then, and then we're into the third act.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I appreciated that because it was like, of course, like she has been the logic and reason the entire time, and it's just like, nope, no, thank you. I was pretty no perfect, but yeah. Definitely recommend go see it in theaters.
I recommend it as well. I just had I had some quibbles, but
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it again. Okay, that was our Candyman review. Way late here in the game. That's what I'm still gonna advertise this with. So all the people who were like, "What the fuck?" Learn how to work your
Gotcha, bitch.
forward button, I guess, or listen on Spotify where you can jump directly to the timestamps. Thank you if you stuck around with us this long. That was a review of Candyman from 2021, and a bunch of what we've been watching. Real quick, let's check in with Facebook and find out what's going to be our 2x2 for the month of September. I'm pulling it up as we speak.
Yeah, go ahead and check it out. See what you got. See what you got.
Okay, so we did a little Facebook poll, and the way Gavin broke this down was, it's football season, so we're doing football movies, and Gavin picked a batch from the 2000s and a batch from the 90s, and we're about to find out how all of that shook out. Okay, this poll has been active for 10 hours. We're going to go ahead and call it. Goddamn. Okay, bottom of the pack with no votes, Jerry Maguire and Varsity Blues. I believe that was one of my picks and one of Gavin's picks.
Yep.
We got 2 votes, a respectable 2 votes for Little Giants. Midsection, we have a 3-way tie for second place between The Program, which I've never seen, Any Given Sunday, which I voted for, and Rudy, which seems to be the favorite of our parents' generation, which I honestly thought was an 80s movie.
Me too.
And I was like,
forget it's 93.
I was like, you're mistaken. And then I looked and I was like, oh, 93? All right, cool.
Do you know who The Program has in it?
Jimmy Caan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Halle Berry.
All right.
You know it's shot
and
at
Omar Epps, right?
Omar Epps. You know it's shot at USC?
Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah.
Just never seen it.
I it's been forever. I think
And
Perk
of
voted
course,
for that.
I believe our cousin Patrick shouted out Necessary Roughness.
We could do a back-to-back
With the
Bacula.
yeah, dude,
No
I
back-to-back
almost
Bacula.
commented. I'm
No
sorry, but we
back-to-back
just did Color of
Bacula.
Night. No back-to-back Bacula. I love that we had this.
I said it out loud at work when I looked at. I was like, "Oh,
You can't do back-to-back.
no back-to-back Bacula." And Tyler's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Because I've been asking him like, what should I do? What should I pick?" So he's kind of helped me narrow it down. Because I said we were doing The Blind Side because I wasn't going to give anybody a reason to think that kid couldn't play football.
Right.
This white lady taught him how to play football. That's preposterous.
Right. With a whopping 8 votes, the winner and one of the 2 movies we will be doing, the Adam Sandler classic, The Waterboy.
You remember that time that Bobby Boucher came back and the Mud Dog won the Bourbon Bowl, do you?
A lot of love for it, man.
It's good, dude. It's
I'm
so
not
good.
saying it's not good. I just always dread doing comedies on a podcast because I feel like at the end of the day, it's just we just start repeating bits from the movie to each other.
Let's treat it.
No, we gotta come with a deep dramatic read of
Yes.
Bobby Boucher's inner life. That's what we've got to do.
Yes, we do. And we treat this like it's a we treat it like it's game day. We got to bring our A game.
Oh my god, I'm so angry right now.
What?
I am so
What's your
angry.
pick for the 2000s? Let's see.
Okay.
What we got? What happened?
The 2000s, which I have issues with this cluster of movies to begin with, but down here at the bottom with 0 votes, Gridiron Gang, trash. Saw it in the theater because we couldn't get into another R-rated movie that was playing the same weekend or something. I can't even remember what it would have been.
Okay.
Invincible.
His name is Vince from Polly. It's
The Replacements, no votes. What the hell is wrong with you people?
I know.
What the hell?
I figured
Now,
you-
I didn't vote for it, but I hope that some people would.
Right. Again, I can
The
keep this
remake-
open for a week if you want.
Maybe this is us checking in because
Yeah, this is just us checking in.
because
So
I
right
really
now,
hope this doesn't stand. Okay. Currently,
the front runner's the Waterboy.
frontrunner is The Waterboy for the 90s.
90s.
Okay, now back to the 2000s. We got 1 vote for the remake of The Longest Yard, 2 votes for Friday Night Lights, and 3 votes for Remember the fucking Titans. We'll do
Noah,
whatever the community demands.
Noah,
but
attitude reflects leadership, Captain. Okay?
But we may never do a poll ever again if I end up having of the cluster of movies we just gave you. Everybody knows it should be Jerry Maguire and Friday Night Lights, or Friday Night Lights and Any Given Sunday. That's just simple math, okay?
Okay.
But you people are gonna try and make us do the Disneyfied, great movie, but hasn't aged spectacularly well. Remember the Titans. I've also seen it a billion times.
Yes,
Like,
you had to. Yeah, it was a staple for our private school upbringing.
100%.
Yeah. I'm excited.
You
got Bill Patton. You got Denzel.
I do love Will Patton.
You got Ryan Hurst. No.
Well, we'll see if it holds. If you want to change things up, or if you want to bring a little more grit to the table, let's get those Friday Night Lights votes up there, people.
Okay.
And if you want to go also gritty in the 90s, we've never done a Stone movie. I'm always in the mood to do Pacino. And we haven't gotten to talk like some Jamie Foxx since Miami Vice, baby. Like,
It's because you won't watch Sleepless, baby.
well,
Garbage Crime, baby.
you can't break your 10-year rule. I still can once before the year is over.
Right.
You already did. You already used it on Den.
Yeah, but you could have watched it and all the new stuff you watched. It's a new movie to you. You still haven't watched Lockout. So what am I even talking about?
I created a whole limited series just to do Lockout with you. We talked about this last time.
When are we doing this? Are we
Either November or next year, whatever you want to do.
The sooner the better.
It's going to be a 1-month thing.
Okay.
4 Carpenter remakes.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
We'll do Assault on Precinct 13, which is great. The Fog, which is terrible. The Thang prequel, which I need to reassess.
Okay.
And we'll end it with... What did I just say?
Lockout.
With Lockout.
But apparently now you're telling me there's another one with Nick Cage coming out that's the same thing.
Well, no, we're gonna let Lockout count for the
Okay.
escape part, and we're gonna do Prisoners of the Ghostland just because we want to do it.
Right.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. You could have done
Okay.
Sleepless if you really wanted to do Jamie Foxx.
How did we do 3 hours?
I don't know.
We didn't even have 2 movies to discuss.
No,
I gotta
but
go
we
to
had
bed.
thousands of movies to discuss.
I gotta go to bed, man.
I'm sure you do. I still got to drive
It's 2
home.
a.m. I gotta fucking edit an episode.
Yeah.
I gotta get it up.
Uh-huh. Maybe
You guys don't need to hear this.
Maybe
All right.
you take your laptop and your fancy digs where you're driving around.
I'm also hungry. I'm starving.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna go eat something.
Okay, good.
All right. Till next time. I've been Noah.
I've been Gavin.
We've been the Blanchard Brothers, and we're gonna get out of here. We'll see you for
Go vote.
Yeah,
Like it.
yeah. Go vote on Facebook. To be
Facebook.
clear,
Yeah.
unless you're in a state where there's voting right now. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what
yeah.
you'd be voting for. But
Go,
if you do,
go follow
vote with your
Gavin,
heart.
Gavin Blanchard
vote with
on
your heart.
Facebook. Jump in on that poll. Let us know what football movies we should do.
Vote with your heart.
Yeah.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.